Yeah.
You nailed it.
Hey, what's up, Force family? Welcome to Star Wars Guys Podcast. We are your hosts, Mike,
Hello there.
Nate,
Hello there.
and you know him well, Eli.
Oh,
Oh, there. This is my son, Eli. Could be young Luke. Don't you think?
that's very
could
much
be.
a young Luke right there. If
Spitting
I've ever
him
seen
in
it.
Could be.
Give me one of these.
Can you do that?
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
That's a pod race. I love it.
Beautiful. Mom's picking him up. We need a little help on the cast, so Eli was happy to pop in. Did you watch the Kenobi show?
A little bit of it.
A little bit of it. What was your
Nice,
favorite
yeah.
part?
The part where Darth Vader fighted Obi-Wan.
Oh,
yeah.
that's maybe my favorite part.
Maybe my
too.
part of
That's-
all
that's a
all
good
of them.
part.
All of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you going to
That's
watch
awesome.
the shows coming up, Andor and Bad Batch?
Yeah, Bad Batch and also Andor because they're so cool.
They are so.
Yeah.
All right.
I want everyone, whenever there's criticisms online or people lose sight of why we watch the things, I think that Eli nailed it. I want to watch it because it's so cool.
So
so cool.
That's how I
That's
feel every
right.
time I'm watching it.
Absolutely.
That's
I
awesome.
know.
That's perfect.
And you were who Star
love it.
Wars was made for originally, right?
Mhm.
Tell them how old you are.
I'm 5.
5.
Yeah.
5 years old.
Raised on Star Wars.
That's
I believe
perfect.
the age. It might have been the age that when we watched it when Matt and I watched it in Grandma's basement
Might
with
have
you,
been.
Uncle. I was
Yeah.
either 4 or 5.
Little.
Because I know I had at least 3 or 4 years after that we then played Star Wars nonstop before the
Nonstop.
prequels came out.
Star
when I
Wars
was
guys.
8. Or Star Wars guys.
That's where it came
hence
from.
the
Right.
name.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it. Awesome.
Eli, are you looking forward to Bad Batch? Animated?
Yeah, I really, really like Bad Batch.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool, right?
hmm
Yeah.
That's
Seeing
so
the clone armor.
And Omega. Omega's pretty cool.
Omega.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to say before we let you go?
I'm welcome to meet you. And hello there.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Wave to him. And,
And
then
may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
This
Always.
is the
Thanks,
door
young
you're
Luke.
looking for.
This is the answer you're looking for.
That
Okay,
is
go up with
great.
Jake.
Awesome. Good job, buddy.
That is awesome.
That was awesome.
I think we need to have them on every week
Every week.
as a reminder
Our subscribers
to
just
show we're
through the roof.
we're the half glass half full kind of crowd.
Absolutely.
That's
I love
right.
it.
There's the audience right there for Star
Pepsi's
Wars.
fine, right?
Pepsi's fine.
Pepsi's
Wait.
fine.
To remind me, because it was a few weeks ago, but refresh me, what was the mayonnaise analogy again? Because I love.
Man, I don't know what.
I don't
Sometimes I
remember.
start talking. I don't know what's going to come out until I get finished.
At the time, I remember thinking that was a great analogy. I need to. And then the next week, I was like, "What was the mayonnaise thing again?"
That's
I
what it
couldn't
was.
remember
Okay, so we talk about mayonnaise. Is that good mayonnaise? Is it good?
Mm.
And I would say there's no such thing. It's
Gotcha.
all bad because I don't like mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, the question is not whether it's good or bad. The question is, do I like it?
Yes.
So people say,
Yeah.
is it spicy? Well, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Maybe.
Yeah.
The question is, do you like it?
What's your palate?
So
makes
there is
sense.
no like
makes
we
sense.
talked about Picasso. Is Picasso good or bad? Well, it's neither. It's if you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I think I approach Star Wars. It's not that it's unequivocally good or bad or anywhere in between. It's if I like it or not. Some things I
Right.
prefer.
Yeah.
Some things I don't. But I know that there's a lot of people that love stuff that I don't, and
yeah.
people that don't like things that I do. So
That's
Just
a great
find the
example
joy
of
in it.
different
And I-
of different tastes
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
right.
100%. And I think that's why it's common to have a critical analysis of a movie and say this may not be the best critically or what the critical standard would be for
Right.
this take or this
Right.
shot. But that doesn't mean it can't be your favorite movie
That's right.
because of certain things,
For sure.
certain themes,
What it makes you
certain
feel.
cool moments. Yeah.
What it makes you feel.
yeah.
I think one of the bigger things, and this is not to, I don't want this to be misconstrued as like, they're like I get less, like I have lower standards as I get older. It's not that at all as far as for these films, but I think that the focus on what does a project, what does one of these movies or shows this leads into our Kenobi discussion because I know we're going to do some Kenobi wrap up, some final thoughts on Kenobi. And not our final thoughts, because if you know The Last Jedi, which came out like a decade ago, we talk about it every week. So we'll have thoughts for Kenobi for years to come.
Mike just mentioned it, so we can cross that off for this podcast.
We got to hit it once.
Exactly.
Ryan Johnson.
But I was going to say, I think that what climbs up my priorities as far as how I, not even necessarily making a ranking, or like how I feel about what a show or what a movie makes me feel, really is at the top, if not the most important thing when I think of, did I like this or not? A lot of times it's what did I feel while I was watching it? And leading into thoughts on Kenobi, while there's certain things that we got that I was like, yes, that's exactly what I thought we were going to get, and they crushed it on that. And then there was other things I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Right.
And you either like it or it's not your favorite thing. It's one of the most emotional.
Yeah, you can't deny that.
It's one of the most emotional things.
Yeah.
I was actually texting back and forth with a friend of mine from church, and we were talking about. We hadn't talked since the final episode because I had been out of town this weekend. We were texting yesterday about just watching it over and over, and he texted something like, I just keep watching the episode over and over. I've watched it so many times.
I think I skipped to the fight and probably watched that at least 15 times.
I think
not exaggerating.
I think the text message I got was, I've watched it so many times, and then another text right after that, I've cried every time. And I responded and said, I have cried to reaction videos of people watching particular scenes. Like, when I pull up,
it's like 3 emotions removed.
It really is.
They're
Like, I'm waiting to see them for the first time see Vader / Anakin with part of the mask off, talking to Obi-Wan, and seeing Ewan McGregor just acting unbelievably well. And that emotion when he's tearing up, and it's the blue and the red, and it's all of this. It's so good.
I said another thought.
You had a thought? We don't have those.
It was weird.
Here.
I'm not sharing it.
It was weird. I'm
not crazy. I'm not going to tell it out loud. No, I was thinking about the focus in the duel on Mustafar the first time in 3. Yeah. Obi-Wan's focus is all on Anakin. You were this, and you did this, and you were this, and you were my brother, and you were the chosen one. And his focus in this is all on him. I'm sorry.
So good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for everything. It's all about he's owning his part, but no longer blaming himself.
Before it was all, look what you've become. You've become this.
Yeah.
Even that. This time,
it's
you were meant to destroy the Sith,
actually Anakin / Vader saying, Anakin's gone, I am what remains. And he's addressing and he's identifying himself as far as what he's become. He says, I'm sorry, and then he even takes the blame from him, saying, you didn't do this. I'm not your failure.
The credit.
Or the credit, From Anakin, there's some compassion maybe, and then if it's from Vader, it's also just it's such a blind spot, a blinded view from Vader of like him. He sees himself as a triumph, as he's right now again defeated by his master. Again, he's this deformed monster who's more of a slave than he's ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
and he's sitting there and he's like, you don't get credit for this. I made this masterpiece. And Obi-Wan's like, ugh, like that's
can't even look at you.
You can't even look at you. But yeah, it's what I like, and we don't really discuss what we're gonna do for these shows before we start. We just go, are we ready? Are the mics on?
They're on.
Let's do it.
Do we need to fix that? I mean, is it okay? Because Nate mentioned that the other day when we were with Darth Chaco and Element 7 that we don't have a script, and I was like, do people usually probably they have scripts and stuff? And
I gotta be honest, they probably got more bullet points than we do.
Okay,
considering our level is at none.
You don't get mayonnaise
with the title.
And Pepsi okay with.
We come up with the title, Kenobi, and what's next? Andor.
Right.
Andor prep. All right, yeah, we'll
maybe the chat can let us know if this is annoying.
I think that
I don't know. I think a lot of the feedback we get from the comments and the shares that we get on Instagram and stuff are all. The majority of those are all like, it's nice, it's refreshing to have people just sit down and chat and just talk Star Wars.
Right.
And not feel like they're tuning into something, you have to
like they're not
make every detail.
Like they're not trying to be entertaining or anything.
I like that I'm watching.
Not putting on a front.
I like watching someone that I know is not at the upper echelon of this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's refreshing to see someone who that there are people who are better than them at this.
You sleep better. It's the Jerry Springer of podcasts.
That's
It's
just the
Star Wars
vibe.
podcast. All right.
That's it.
Yeah. We try to
I
have
love
the
it.
relaxed vibe.
All right. Yeah. Well, I like it.
I like it too.
I like
This
it,
is
so
what we
we'll do
would
it whether you like it.
normally. Yeah. Right.
I like it. And having said that, I actually do have a few things written down. So this is great.
A few bullet
I
points.
was gonna see how long we were gonna get
He
going.
does
the
prepare.
Top of my
I
head.
know. I randomly. I'm like
We say
throughout the
that
day. I go, our next podcast. This is a good thing I should remember. Or I'm
we
texting
say
back
that
and
like we're
forth.
bashing him while he prepares.
I love it.
I know. And then I'm defending it. No, I don't prepare. I don't
No, I
prepare.
don't.
I promise I don't prepare.
plan anything ahead of
I
time.
don't prepare anything. Although, so let me read you this
Check my
5-page.
phone. Oh, man.
Those 5 pages I wrote here. No, I did think when we're talking about discussing our overall thoughts on Kenobi, our overall thoughts of the series, we can give some. And again, we did this a little bit in our previous episode of like some overall reactions, but now that we've last night / this morning, I guess was the first time that we woke up and did not have a Kenobi episode.
Yeah,
I
didn't
say,
have to wake
I
up
say
at
it like
2.
it's the first time ever.
First
Like
time.
it didn't just last 4 weeks.
4 weeks ago.
But
right.
it's the first time since the show
Yeah.
has aired that's like, oh, we didn't get any new Star Wars this week.
Mhm.
But so as we talk through what we can kind of do with this podcast episode, one of my ideas was just we can discuss some of our overall thoughts. We did this a little bit in the last cast, but now that we've sat on it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I thought it'd be interesting as I drop my phone. I thought it'd be
It's a
interesting
cool looking
to discuss.
case, by the way.
By the
That's
way,
a neat
this is a
looking
great
case.
time to mention our friend. So
Friends
I was
at
almost said
Casetify.
sponsor, but that was we'll edit that out. But no, shout out to Casetify who sent. As I zoom in, as I zoom in, it's called extending your arm. Who sent these?
Let me zoom that.
I'm imagining like an old person in like early 1900s reading a newspaper and going, "Well, let me zoom in," and they just lean into it. Like that's all I do.
Another
Come on,
tangent.
closer.
How many times do you look at a picture now and try to pinch to zoom a real picture?
Oh,
Oh, a real picture.
Oh no, I'm serious.
yeah.
I
We
don't
were
look
at the
at- I don't
museum
look
and I
at
was
real
like,
pictures.
put my hand down. I can't.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it was a while back that
Weird.
Just a second.
Abigail and I
The
were looking
iPad
at
will
it.
do that to you because that's big.
I
You're
know.
trying- that's the
Always
big-
doing
yeah.
that.
Definitely have done it on. I think Abigail and I were looking at a year or two ago. We're looking at like some photo albums,
You reach up.
and I'm like, I'm very tempted to like touch it to like, is it out of focus? Like, what is it blurry?
Right.
Or like,
Oh
and
no,
I'm
this
like,
one's black and
trying
white.
to, like,
Can we get
you're,
different
you're
filters?
crumbling the old photograph. You can't do
Done
that.
that. You can't zoom it.
But yeah, shout out to Casetify who sent these awesome Star Wars phone cases
Yeah.
to us. Who
Really
really
cool.
appreciate it. This one is it's
Millennium
the specs of the
Falcon.
Millennium Falcon. You never heard of Millennium Falcon? Ship me a kiss from us. 12 persons.
12.
Which, by the way, this is a tangent inside of a tangent inside of a tangent. So we'll see if I even
Whoa,
find
it's
the
the
end here.
tangent
The
side.
Did you
tenet of
guys see that
tangents?
John Williams has announced that he is
Yeah.
after Indiana Jones? He's officially calling it.
That's it.
That's what he said.
For
And
Indiana
I
Jones,
believe-
he's all back in on Star
He's
Wars.
only doing Star Wars.
After Indiana Jones 5, I will not stick
will
around and
not.
see Harrison do this at 100. Which, by the way, I think Harrison Ford also said he believes that after Indiana Jones, he thinks he's going to retire.
Well,
Which both of them, like, what do you, I
okay.
mean, has anyone ever, have there been ever people who have earned it more?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
you've done
seriously.
it all.
You have done it.
You have done it all. But as far as from a Star Wars standpoint, the John Williams, as much as we love Harrison, John Williams
Man.
Yeah.
has a bigger impact as far as
Yeah.
we didn't expect Harrison to be coming back and doing more Star Wars.
Mhm.
But yeah,
But I
we'll
never
we'll have a
expected
future.
John Williams to leave.
Well, a
ever.
future.
It's official.
I expected John Williams to be 200 years old, and he's
Still
just
going.
like he's drifting off, sleepy, and just comes
Writes
another theme comes to him.
masterpiece.
Another theme comes to him. The original thought, what I was
Yeah.
getting at here, was I wrote down because I'd seen some stuff online of some questions or some common questions or criticisms / concerns of the show that I thought it'd be fun if
I
we
like
took a
this.
shot at answering some
I
of
like
these
this. All right.
because some
Are they all
People-
false plot holes or what?
no there's some of
Love
people that
those,
I've
man.
engaged
Love
with or even a friend of mine who recently asked some questions about like, yeah, but don't you think this is weird or don't you think this that? And I tried to sit back and think, and I gave a response. But I thought this would be fun to discuss some
Yeah.
of these on the cast. So we can give our overall thoughts maybe a little bit later if you guys want to dive into a couple
Sure.
of these. I think this would be fun.
I would love to.
So one big question I saw this on
Give it to
Twitter
me.
as well.
What's
I'm
with all
prepared
this
for this.
sand?
Why did Obi-Wan not kill Vader once it was clear he calls him Darth?
Mm-hmm.
Anakin is no longer there in his mind.
Mhm.
He believes he is not redeemable, and he knows that he didn't kill him, so Vader is still out there. He's important to the Empire. He's killed people. Obviously, Obi-Wan doesn't know to the extent of what Vader may do, but he knows I didn't kill him this time.
That's right.
He's right there. Why did he not kill him? And at first I thought,
It's not the
that's
Jedi
interesting.
way.
I thought it was interesting. There's some interesting points there. And
That's right.
And so
Anakin to Dooku.
Anakin
It's
to
not the Jedi
Dooku.
way. He is too dangerous to be left alive.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
it's that whole thing. So I've got some thoughts. If anyone wants to say anything else before
I
said
mean,
some
my
stuff, as
initial
far as-
thought is it's not the Jedi way. Now, have they killed in the past? Yes, in battle and in war, whatever.
Yeah.
So you could argue, okay, this is a little different. They are having, he wasn't disarmed necessarily. He was weakened. He was kind of left there. But the other thing would be, my thought for Obi-Wan is he just got closure on everything he'd been thinking, mentally, going through physically for the past 10 years. And obviously they don't say this in the dialogue, but I would assume that if he were to do that and finish Anakin off, that would then put him right back in a spot of mental state. I did this. I had to kill him. I
Mm-hmm.
think he just finally got closure and felt I'm back to where I need to be. I understand my purpose in protecting Luke and Leia. And because of that, I no longer think Vader's even a threat to me. I can handle myself. We made that clear. I'm back to where I feel comfortable to protect the people I need to protect. His mission is no longer to protect the Republic. The Jedi Order is not a thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not following this quote-unquote Republic Jedi Order code. It's he has his mission to protect Luke and Leia, and he probably feels he can do that, and it's not necessarily necessary at the time. It's also easy to think, yeah, but Vader goes on to do all these things. That's true, but we
know
just
that
know
now.
the story.
We know
He
that now.
doesn't. He doesn't know what's to come and what's
Jedi are
to
not
come.
all knowing of the future.
Right.
Right.
That's
What's going to yeah.
Could you argue that he should have? Sure, you can argue that, but I think you can make an argument for him not doing it too,
Right.
which is what we saw.
Yeah.
So
I would say we are so used to kill the bad guy movies that we kind of expect it.
yeah,
Good guy kill the bad guy. But I think in reality it takes a lot more to actually do it. It would be much harder to actually do it.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people
Right.
talk a big game. I mean, like you see, even for the most just, this is getting a little.
Even for the most
No,
just
they talk
cause.
big game,
They don't have what
Right.
it takes.
They don't have what it takes. You
never
never
take
taken
a life,
Put a bullet
don't know what
to
it-
a
But
baby
this is
Hitler.
This is exactly.
Could you
yeah.
could I actually do that? What
Where
would
I-
that say about
I was going a little
me?
bit down that
Yeah.
road too, of like
mean-
even for the most just,
Yeah.
like, I mean, there are horrible atrocities that people are forced to do in war,
Right.
And this sticks with people for a long time,
Yeah.
Even if they
Yeah.
know they did this.
No, it's
And
justified, and
I
that's right.
saved
even if
a
it's
village
justified,
doing this,
even if
and
it's
there was
justified, that
it
doesn't
is-
mean it won't change that person.
Yeah.
And arguably Obi-Wan's done more killing than most. We've seen him
Yeah.
kill.
He shoots
And
Grievous,
this particular person too,
right.
Anakin
Yeah.
too. It's like, even if in this moment he thinks there's no hope, that doesn't mean you don't hold out for it, even if you don't feel
Exactly
it
right.
in this moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
My first reaction is I don't know. It's my first thought.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the
like,
real
there's
the
not
real
a
an-
canon
But I
answer
thought of
for
well,
it.
the
Gandalf
real
when
answer
you
is
asked.
also that because Vader's in A New Hope.
Because he can't.
Because he
No,
can't.
I'm just kidding. But yes, continue.
My first thought was Gandalf, and if you could do your best Gandalf, 'twas pity.
I was
that,
thinking about this
pity
too.
that he didn't kill.
It was pity.
Pity that stood by Bilbo's hand.
Exactly.
Right?
This is the
And we know that, and
Gollum.
we know the path that Obi-Wan has been on is a path from cold and withdrawn to compassionate and loving. That's the journey he's been on.
Yeah.
And he gets to the end of the journey and he has to go back and be the guy he was before
Right.
and kill his
yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he thought this far into it, But I know that governments leave people in place because they can manage them better than the unknown. If Vader's taken out, someone will replace Vader.
Yeah. That's an interesting
And
thought, for
if
sure.
if Vader's not, there is a symbiotic. They were used from Star Wars. There's
There
a
you
connection there. Vader is not. Vader doesn't want to come after Obi-Wan anymore. I don't think he even
Right. He
wants
feels like
to.
I've got this area under control.
That's right. And when that doesn't happen, that actually frees Obi-Wan to stay more connected to Luke rather than
Right.
have to continually run.
Yeah.
If he takes Obi-Wan out, a new Sith comes in. He might
Takes Vader
become
out.
a priority again. We don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what he was thinking.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
a great.
Originally,
great point.
my thought was compassion. It wasn't. In that moment, he would have had to completely shift back to hatred. He couldn't do it in love. He wasn't thinking that way.
Yeah.
To shift back to hatred to do it would have been not kind of
Yeah.
where he was. So there was,
compassion.
unless Vader attacked him again, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vader's incapacitated. He'd literally be killing an innocent person. That wouldn't work,
At that point, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, not innocent. I mean, helpless.
Unarmed, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Basically.
He's someone that he's clearly defeated in the battle.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he's as of right now.
Yeah.
It's exactly what Mace Windu thought he was doing.
It's
Yeah.
It's Anakin Dooku.
Right.
And Anakin's response is, "It's not the Jedi way.
And I know,
I disarmed
and
him.
I know
I've
it looks
won,
like
I've
Vader
bested
is,
him."
If
But
it
even
happened,
though he's a Sith
if
Lord,
it happened
that's
in
not.
battle, that'd be different.
and I
Yeah.
know
Now
that
it's
Vader's
not
still
battle, just
holding.
slashing him dead.
And I know
It's
that it
different.
looks like Vader's still holding the saber there.
You can't even breathe.
But he's on his knees. I mean,
can't breathe,
Obi-Wan
he's
knows
weak.
he's not
No.
even charging at me.
Yeah.
No.
Like he's
Yeah.
talking a big game like Obi-Wan, like I'm still gonna come get you.
Yep.
But Vader had nothing left. That's
Right.
why
There's a
he's-
reason he was able to walk
he's
away.
That's why he sat
Freezing
there.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, too, Benjamin, welcome. Just want to say thanks for tuning in. I see your comments there in the
Awesome.
chat. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Awesome. Welcome. So I
My
agree with
thoughts, yeah.
both you guys say. So when I first was asked this, I thought I did have to kind of sit with it for a while. I think I first saw it on someone post something on Twitter, and there were some people having back and forth discussions. And at first I thought, it is a good point that he didn't kill him on Mustafar, and then a little bit of the guilt. And again, they explored it a little bit in the show. A lot of it was more of the failure of training Anakin, but not a ton of diving into but I also didn't finish the job, and this is what he became. It was a
Right.
lot of kind of the him and Anakin, not necessarily the him and Vader still out there because of me.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that is interesting why he would decide in the same scene that he calls him Darth.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily that he just feels bad for Anakin and he still views him as Anakin.
He's established he's a
But both of
Sith.
you guys, I think, are hitting it on the. So
I mean, Anakin says the same thing to Mace Windu when he tries
Yeah.
to finish the Emperor. The
Right.
Emperor's quote-unquote bested, right?
Right,
He
yeah.
loses, weapon, whatever. He's backed up against the wall. See, Anakin, I
You
told you the
can't.
Jedi are taking over. He's like, he's too dangerous to be left alive. Mace Windu was willing to go there, but Anakin steps in and says,
You can't.
no, it's not the Jedi way. Now,
That's right.
obviously, Anakin had other intentions,
Yeah.
but what he was saying in that moment was he was trying to make sense to Mace Windu, the Jedi code in
Right.
that moment of that's not. We've bested him. We have to take him to trial.
That's
we got to
right.
do the thing. Now, you could argue whether that's correct or not, but that does explain why.
And in this
You
case,
could
Obi-Wan
say
can't.
no.
There's nobody to take him to.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah,
right.
And so I do
Yeah.
think they answer. I think they answer this question in the show. The more I started
Oh,
thinking about it in the
wow.
previous episode,
Okay.
there's a reason this
I'll allow it.
fight comes the episode after the big important flashback scene where they're the sparring session.
Yeah.
And I went back and I listened to the dialogue of that. I've watched that scene now a dozen times.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just was like I wanted to see them fighting
That's
again. This
awesome.
is cool, seeing them talk. But their dialogue
The
the
big
whole
Anakin
time.
quote.
So they're talking back and forth, and Obi-Wan is getting on him about how Anakin fights too aggressive. Like his nature.
focused
All you
on
care
the
about is
victory.
you're
too
too focused
focused
on
on
winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
on winning. You're too aggressive. You're basically you're not seeing the fight.
More ways to fight than just with
There's
your
many-
lightsaber.
Mhm.
So when they're talking, Anakin has or Obi-Wan has the quote to Anakin. Anakin comes at him really aggressive. He blocks him, and he says, Anakin, a Jedi's goal is to preserve life, not take it. And Anakin said, mercy doesn't defeat an enemy, master.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is one of his final lessons to Anakin, and then I also wrote down some stuff how this connects to the films and in other battles, namely Luke and Vader.
Luke and Vader.
Yeah.
Is that it is in fact the mercy that ultimately saves the
That
galaxy.
ultimately wins.
And it's
Yeah.
not even just the mercy
It's
of necessarily just a good guy versus a villain. It's even the mercy versus Vader again.
Mm-hmm.
Of Luke has the same exact the Obi-Wan situation with Vader in episode
Luke
6 of this is the Luke and Vader moments of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Where even though Vader's not like, I give up, he's injured, he's down, and Emperor's sitting there good and telling him to finish off and fulfill your father's place in my side, all this stuff.
Yeah.
He raises the lightsaber and
No. I'll never turn to the dark side.
And it's actually Luke saving Vader there. That mercy he shows him is what finally breaks through to Vader.
That's right.
And is what
Connects
brings
Anakin,
back
yeah.
Anakin. And what ultimately overthrows the Emperor,
That's right.
throws him off the balcony.
And who's to say that moment now that we've got this doesn't, remind him a little bit of what Obi-Wan's doing too.
That's right.
Yeah, and so
It's not necessary. I mean, yeah, that moment is a key moment, and that is the ultimate moment that brought him back. But just like we see with Kylo, these things don't necessarily happen just like that. Could they? Yeah, but you could argue that he was scratching away at Vader throughout the whole trilogy, throughout all the originals. He was tying up things like, no, it can't be true. Like, and he's even telling Obi-Wan, like, I can't murder my father. Like, he's saying these things. So even though that was the ultimate thing that pushed Vader over, that doesn't mean that this moment with Obi-Wan here we see didn't have an effect on him. That, even though he's still bad, he's still on the dark side, goes on to do all these horrible things, didn't hold with him. All these little moments aren't to contribute to that ultimate turn.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's what's funny is once I started kind of going down that path of thinking of, oh, well, it's because the parallel to this, it also becomes so clear that this question, when it was first brought up, I thought that is kind of, it's stumping me a little bit. I don't know why that would happen of this. It's so consistent towards what almost every hero has done throughout all of Star Wars. Rey defeats Kylo when they're fighting on the Death Star wreckage. Stabs him. Could let him die. He's literally blown up multiple planets, a whole system, the whole
He's
New
killed
Republic.
billions of people.
More people than Vader. He destroyed in one decision and
billions,
helped do
yeah.
that.
It's too dangerous to be left alive.
Too dangerous to be left alive. She's tried to get him to turn.
She
Luke's
actually
even
goes
said,
out of her way.
Luke's even said,
That's
this is
it.
not going to go the way you think. He's
Right.
not coming
Yeah.
back. All of this.
Yeah.
She stabs him and then immediately she heals him.
Goes out of her way
Goes
to
out of her
actually
way.
preserve his life.
And she heals him. And it's that moment that he doesn't immediately snap out of it, and he's like, Ben. She heals him, and then she leaves. And he's sitting there, and he's kind of stunned by what just happened. But it is that act that then softens his heart. He then has his scene with the memory of Han, and Ben Solo returns. It's the same thing that happened in Return of the Jedi with bringing Vader back. And Obi-Wan, if Obi-Wan does kill Vader now, yes, there are some atrocities that Vader would not end up committing later on.
Right.
But also the argument can definitely be made for what Uncle was saying right there, of that
Yeah.
the final scene, or one of the final scenes of this whole show, is the Emperor kind of threatening Vader. Like, basically, like, even though Vader's not just disposable, that he can just get rid of him, and he treats him like he threatens him. He's like,
tries to
I
remind
wonder
him
if
that
your thoughts on this are clear, Lord Vader. If your past cannot be forgotten, and like says this in these waits, and basically is like, then I'll get rid of you.
Right.
And who knows what would happen if Vader is defeated? The Emperor's still out there. The only reason the Emperor ends up being defeated ultimately is because Vader is still alive.
That's right.
When Luke goes, if Luke goes and faces the Emperor by himself, or if he faces the Emperor, I mean, Yoda couldn't defeat the Emperor. He tried, couldn't do it. Luke, I mean, we already saw the Emperor has an effect on Luke. He's talking to him, he's manipulating him, he's already getting him closer to the dark side,
For
just
sure.
even being around him. And with how Luke was wavering with some of the dark, like tapping into some of the dark side tendencies more and more throughout Return of the Jedi. He's wearing all black, the black glove, all of the symbolism stuff.
Yep.
If he goes there and there's no Vader to help him in the fight versus the Emperor, we have no idea how that goes, or if the Emperor has another new Sith apprentice at that point. then
Right. Yeah,
Luke's
it's
not
totally
gonna he's not gonna win that fight.
Right.
And the same thing with defeating the Emperor ultimately in Rise of Skywalker, the
Mhm.
Sith Eternal Emperor, who, if Ben Kylo is just killed by Rey,
Mm-hmm.
Rey went and tried to face the Emperor by
Yeah.
herself, didn't go well.
That's right.
It's only because Ben Solo is redeemed and comes and joins her in the
Right.
fight, does all this stuff, gives her the other saber
Mhm.
that she's able to ultimately, and again, even though it's ends up being more of her squaring off with him, she gets the extra saber from Ben.
Yeah.
And all these things just have this trickling effect where it's easy in the moment to say, like, as I'm sure if we're just watching, if we in hindsight knew, let's say we're watching Rise of Skywalker, and Rise of Skywalker is not the final episode of the Skywalker saga, but there's a few after that. And we know that Kylo would end up going to do even bigger atrocities than he's ever done.
Yeah.
And that Rey had a chance to kill him and didn't. We would go, why the heck would Rey leave him alive? That doesn't make
Right.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the story. The story is because she left
Right.
him alive. The
It's funny you
ultimate
say
redemption, the ultimate overthrow of the ultimate
Yeah.
evil ends up happening. And even though it's not Obi-Wan who ultimately finishes Vader, it is Obi-Wan in this moment. And again, you can always have the debate of, yes, but then other people end up dying. There's all these other things. But Obi-Wan was not the person, and it wasn't the right time. He was not the person to end this ultimate evil. He was the
Yeah.
person who had to survive to be there for Luke, because Luke was the one who could finally get through to Vader that would then bring Anakin back and overthrow the
Right.
Emperor.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny you say that because I was just thinking, if without knowing the story, if we were right here watching the finale of Kenobi without knowing the rest of it after this,
I want to do that. Let's watch
we
it.
would,
Let's do it.
we would, I mean, and Vader turned in that moment, we'd be like, oh, see, mercy is what turned him.
Mm-hmm.
But in this moment, because that's not what happened, it's easy to look back and say, oh, well, yeah, why didn't he kill him? Let's just,
Right.
we don't know. I mean, they don't, and he didn't know.
Well, imagine how that would play out. A wincing, wheezing, defeated Vader with a mask half broken and a scarred face that Obi-Wan put him there. It walks up to him and cuts his head off. What are we going to think?
We can pretend that's a light side
I'd be like,
move.
what?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
happened?
If anything, everyone would feel
It would
pity
just-
for Vader, even though he's killed some
But and
people.
also,
would be-
can we
it would
imagine that that's
not
good
feel
for
right.
Obi-Wan's soul? Like, is that doesn't
No.
feel
yeah,
like him tapping
it's
into the
not-
light?
Can't be.
I would argue, I mean, it's not in the show. I would argue that, we're keepers of the peace. We're not soldiers.
Yeah.
But
Right.
they were.
Yes.
And all of that general stuff and all of the
it was all wrong.
fighting, all of that was driving the Jedi to a place that was
Right.
not.
And
That was
that's
not what it was
good.
part of
intended
the
to
reason
be.
why they had their
And-
collapse.
And
Yeah.
they're characters in a movie. I get it. But war leaves scars on people.
Yeah.
Deep emotional
Look at Yoda.
scars. Not just Vader, but all of the stuff that Obi-Wan did.
When
Look
Yoda's
at every
talking in
single
Return of the
Jedi who
Jedi.
has survived is gone into hiding.
Yeah.
Every one.
But Yoda says, "What wars do not make one great."
Mm-mm.
He warns them,
Yeah.
like, "Listen, I'm one of the reasons we got into this war." And he's telling Luke.
Right.
He's telling Luke about this adventure and this and wars do not make one great. He's telling him this had a horrible effect. Like we got outside of our lane as far as what we're trying to do. Why? Like the Jedi are not supposed to be just pawns of the Republic,
Mm-hmm.
because that now you're
Supposed to be outside
now
of that.
You're funded by this institution. The Jedi are not. It reminds me of like some of the recent. There's been some recent superhero movies in the last like 5 to 6 years that have messed. Some Marvel movies have messed around with this a little bit too. One of I think it's Civil War was talking about like if we're not the independent superheroes who just are there for good, and we now back a certain organization, then you comes with the bureaucracy, and there are times when
They don't
we
always
can
do
no
right.
longer
Mhm.
go
Gain
help
control.
people because we have to go through the red tape and we're controlled by someone else who can tell us, no,
Yeah.
you can't go do that. They start going down that path where now that we listen to just the Republic, where even though obviously the Republic in a sense was like majority, if you're going to say are they good or bad, the Republic at the time was most of the good guys that we knew
Yep.
were associated with the Republic. What the outside didn't know is that the head of the Republic
Was
is the
being
ultimate evil.
manipulated
It was
the
the-
other way. That's right.
And because of that, he started controlling the Jedi. They start doing this.
Right.
They're doing things that look like it's the name of the light, but they've taken on this role and become something that they weren't supposed to. One final thought on this too, from just this show, of the Obi-Wan show. I do love the writing. everyone who contributed to writing the show, and then also the direction of Deborah Chow, where some of these answers are even in that fight with Obi-Wan and Vader, that rematch on, I don't know what that planet's called, but I want to know the name of that planet because that looks awesome.
Tried
like
to
the
find it.
little
Yeah,
rock
no.
planet.
We'll have to look it up.
But when Obi-Wan starts using the Force now, and like starts using the Force and showing off his powers a little bit, and Vader has the quote of, "Your strength has returned, but your weakness still remains, and that is why you will always lose."
Yeah.
His weakness he's talking about is the compassion that Obi-Wan still fights with.
Right.
That Vader's like, you
can
still have
sense it.
compassion towards people and feelings towards
Mm-hmm.
me or whatever you think I still am. That's why you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's Vader's short-sightedness and blindness that, like, no, that's actually why Obi-Wan always has the leg up on you,
Mhm.
because you're fighting a battle for two different things. Like,
It's
you're
foreshadowing
fighting
to
to show
what's going to come at the end.
exactly.
Right.
That weakness is actually what.
It's actually
Right.
it's actually
Vader.
the
Which is
advantage.
exactly why they show that in the flashback, and that's the lesson he's telling Anakin.
And what did the Inquisitor say? Your compassion leaves a trail.
Compassion
leaves a trail.
They've been taught to call this a weakness, and it's actually not.
And it's great that in
it's a
the
strength.
show, the villains are constantly calling it a weakness out loud when
Yeah.
we know the end result of
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a weakness from the point of the most evil people in the galaxy who are hunting you down. Like that, it is a weakness in just that you're more exposed. They might
Yeah.
be able to find you.
Yep.
But the whole point of the Jedi is that they're going to be there for you when you need them, and that
It's so.
for
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
who need the Jedi, it's the most positive aspect there is.
And
the
here's
most
what's so
positive trait.
bizarre. I think the character who potentially embodied it the best in the prequels was Anakin.
Because
I mean,
he
Yeah.
would not.
He even told
No-
Padme,
no person left behind.
You know,
Yeah.
compassion is a quality that we favor. In fact, attachment is implied
Yeah.
because and we deal with this in
We're
Light and the
encouraged
Jedi.
to love.
Right.
The attachment between Padawan and Master and
They touch on it a ton in
other
Clone Wars.
Jedi.
Yeah.
So I think it can be manipulated, those passionate moments, but in some ways Anakin embodied compassion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
for
he would
sure.
never. He was the one that would never leave
He
in
was-
Clone Wars. He
he-
would never leave He always treated the clones.
as
like-
individuals. They
like
weren't
individuals.
expendable. They
He
weren't.
would always
yeah.
go to save them. He was always talking to Padme about.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say this, but we know what the right thing to do is. Not
Right.
always this. He made decisions that were not necessarily condoned. I would think I might make that same decision. We see that in Clone
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let him die.
No.
And those were the qualities that we see Ahsoka
Yeah, he
learn
passes.
from
she learns that
Anakin.
That's right.
She just didn't go as so far.
That's right.
to
It was
then
the
get
selfish part of
manipulated.
it
Yeah,
that
she didn't
got him in trouble.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was the manipulation, the selfish part that he ended up taking it, and then what he was
Giving
with
it
that
anger
compassion got
yeah.
twisted.
Yeah.
But what he was doing before was accurate, and those are the things we see that that he passed on to Ahsoka,
Yeah.
which is why he even says, there's a lot of things about you that you're beginning to remind me so much of myself.
And passed on to Leia. We talked
Yep.
about that.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
we see that in Luke too.
That Leia, talk about the scenes that make me emotional.
So great.
Man.
Every time. So we talked a little bit about, obviously a little bit. Majority of that was about the Vader and Obi-Wan we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But that scene where he's on Alderaan and he's saying goodbye to Leia and he's talking to her. And he says, hey, before I didn't, I said I didn't know your mother and father. And then he starts talking about the character traits that her strength that she gets from Padme and then what
Padme.
she gets from Anakin. It just embodies what we saw a lot in the Clone Wars animated series of Anakin being as Alec Guinness' character said, and he was a good friend. And we don't
Yeah,
get a
good
lot of
friend.
that in the original trilogy
Right.
because we don't get a ton of Anakin
Yeah.
in the original trilogy
Mhm.
at all. But you also in the prequels we get some glimpses, but because of just time constraints, they have to get to a lot more of his fall than it is
Yeah.
their
The hashing out of
positive
what they do in Clone
interactions.
Wars.
Clone Wars.
And
we
then
get a lot
Clone
of-
Wars,
yeah.
they really highlight that a lot more.
Yeah.
And they highlight the compassion. They highlight where maybe in the prequels, even though I think prequels are great, it has some similar moments that are kind of portrayed in a way intentionally that are more of showing how impulsive he is and how
That's
he's
right.
just
Yep.
butting heads and not listening to authority. Where in the Clone Wars they take time to actually really examine, like, but also maybe is Anakin right when it
Maybe
comes to
it's-
this particular?
sometimes,
Like,
yeah.
there are times he needs to listen more, but also there's times when the council's wrong.
Mhm.
And Ahsoka learns that too. Is like, yeah, I don't think that because Mace Windu says, well, listen, we saved 5 people and we lost 4. That's a win for us. He's like, no, that's a loss.
What do you mean?
This is what
Yeah.
Leia was trying to tell us.
That's
is that
right.
any person that we lose is a
Right.
loss.
Mhm.
We took down a dreadnought, says Bo. At what cost?
That's right.
and that's a thing that Anakin embodies, and I love that they when
Agreed.
Obi-Wan's talking to her and they're
Yeah.
talking about his strengths and how he's
Also, just
passionate,
Yeah.
and like
And showing-
fearless.
Fearless.
Yeah, I just
Love
love
it.
too that the whole last from the fight to the end, and then talking to Leia, just so clearly shows his thought process now of not just getting over of blaming himself, but how he's really able to visually and like picture Anakin and Vader as just 2 separate people,
Yeah.
because it's allowed him to have this peace of mind knowing that Anakin really was this, this compassionate person. He
Mhm.
really was these
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
And it's okay to tell Leia that these are the things that he had that were great about
was,
him. And
right.
this is what, this is why we were so close.
He's
He was
treating
my
him like he
brother.
died now, not like
Exactly. And he's able to
not like he
understand
turned.
that just because, he turned, that doesn't negate all the good stuff, the good relationship that I had with him. I can still remember him for those things because those are good qualities that hopefully Leia will go on to learn and have within her as well,
Yeah.
and Luke. But I just love how they kind of show his mental state of getting through that trauma, basically, of what
Right.
he's had to deal with and think over the last 10 years of what happened between him and Anakin. And now he's got a peace of mind knowing, no, Anakin was this nice, compassionate, strong
That's absolutely
person.
right.
And
Did Obi-Wan force us to rethink our greatest Jedi list and include Anakin?
because before we were
Because
like,
before we were like, how
can
can we
you?
make him great? He's evil. But Obi-Wan's saying,
Yeah.
they're 2 different things.
And also,
Yeah.
if we re-ranked it right now,
Obi-Wan's
Obi-Wan
higher
would
on the
rise.
Obi-Wan's
list for
rising,
sure.
and I say, even though she's not a Jedi at this point, if we did a favorite characters list, as much as I've always liked Leia's character,
Oh man,
this adds. I mean, so we were talking off air about how a couple days ago, my wife Abigail and I were watching with her parents and her brother. We were watching A New Hope, and this is the first time I've fully watched A New Hope all the way through. I'd actually watched half of it a little bit the week before, then I just ran out of time because I had some work stuff. But from start to finish, watch A New Hope since the conclusion of the Kenobi series. When I look at, I think that the show did such a great job of adding this extra backstory, extra depth to one. I think that when I look at Leia, I do see like totally that's the little girl that I
Yeah.
saw older now.
Yeah.
Like the attitude's
and I
there.
think that
she's
vice
strong.
versa too. Of looking at
Also,
little
just the
Leia.
look is like, yeah, I totally see that's who
Yeah.
she.
Yeah.
And also, this is the first time that I've been able to watch New Hope and watch, with now thinking and like watching her and thinking like, I know the stuff you've been through before this, and like, wow, this
Yeah.
is really interesting how well the show had these parallels and like
Yeah.
here's an interrogation scene. Here's how do we know that they're tracking us because they tracked me before.
It's been there.
She's like,
She's been
they let us go, and she's talking about that, and
Yeah.
then Han's
call that
talking about,
easy?
You call that easy? And she's like, it's obvious, and they're talking about it, but
Yeah.
obviously in the context of A New Hope, you don't know that it's obvious also to Leia because I've been through this.
Experience.
10 years ago, they did this to me. I know
Yeah.
about this. There's so many things that line up there.
I had a theme I wanted to ask you guys to help me talk through.
Let's
I
hear
mentioned
it.
this to Nate, and y'all might find this interesting. The idea of Leia and pursuing Leia. This idea of her running or escaping and being pursued.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first time we see Leia in A New Hope, she's being pursued.
Yeah.
Then she's taken, and then Obi-Wan, Luke pursuing Leia.
Yep.
Then she escapes. Then they're pursuing her again. And when they're coming, same thing. But if we look at even all through the Kenobi show, it's all about Leia running or escaping and being pursued. The first time we see her, they're trying to find her. She's run away, and her mom and dad are trying to catch her. They bring her back.
Mhm.
Goes again. Now the villains capture her and take her. Now she's taken off, and now Obi-Wan is pursuing her. When he gets to her, what does she do when he gets her? She runs away from him. Now he's pursuing her again. Up on top, pursuing her. She falls. He's pursuing her down there. He comes all the way down, catches her, pursues her. Then they go hide behind the things, and she runs to the ship. He runs after her to the ship.
Yeah.
Continually being pursued. She's captured by... She's running down the hallway. The third sister captures. Now they come and pursue again.
Yep.
Continually pursuing all through the whole show. And even when they're on the planet, when they're going to meet up, she wanders away and says no. He follows her onto the thing.
Yeah.
She leads him here. I wondered if you guys had any thought about this theme of Leia leading either by just going and then being pursued or actually followed.
Yeah.
I saw it through the whole show.
And even once they get there too, she continues to lead.
She still moves.
It's like,
on.
okay, you broke me out. Well, someone's got to save our skins. And then
happened-
she's like, I'm leading. Let's go. We're going.
It happened in little ways when they had an argument.
Yeah.
What did they do when they had an argument? She ran off,
Yep.
and Obi-Wan went to talk to her.
And then
in the show.
Even in there's even moments in the original trilogy where she's having a argument with Han. They're talking. She leaves. Han walks after her. It's not Han's like, I've had enough, and he leaves, and she's following after him. It's she's always on the move. Now, I do think part of it, there could be a number of answers for this. Part of it, I think, is that the fact of her leading. She's a leader.
Leading.
Yeah.
She is always leading the way. And it's interesting when the only time we really don't see this happen as far as it's intentional in The Last Jedi, when they look to her and they think she's going to make the first move. Well, what are you looking at me for? Follow him.
That's right. Even
And
Last
it's like-
Jedi, it's all about pursuit.
And even
It's all
that,
about pursuit.
even
They're
that
pursuing her the
moment
whole time.
is showing that she's trying to
She's
train.
trying to pass
she's
the
trying
baton
to
to
pass
him.
the
She knows
baton
she
to
can't
make-
keep-
She
Yeah.
can't
keep
do this
going
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even The Last Jedi, it's there's the pursuit, then we get here, then you leave, and then
I didn't know if it was intentional, but in Obi-Wan, it felt very intentional. Because the first time we see her, she's running and being chased and pursued, and
I
it
think
happened the whole
And
show.
then as soon
There's
as you think,
definitely-
he caught up to her, she's like, I
Huh.
don't know if I can
you caught
trust
me, and
you.
she runs away again.
I think there's definitely
I just-
symbolism of independence there.
Independence,
Of like, it's just from the first thing we ever saw her
fearless,
as
courage. It's
fearless.
just
She's not.
going
She's
on.
go off into the unknown.
Yeah.
She'll lead the way.
Right.
She is not going to wait for you to hold her hand to help you.
Right.
Right.
Which is also funny when you like as far as that too. Going back to some ties to obviously another great strong female character of Rey of like literally going, quit holding my hand. Like I
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
I can
Why'd you
go
keep
with
taking
you.
my hand?
You don't need to babysit me to get us
And
where we
you
need to
think
go.
you
That
pull
felt
her
like
around?
such a Leia move. Like that Leia would
Got
be
a
like
boyfriend?
that as
Cute
well.
right, right.
But yeah, that's an interesting.
Yeah.
So if
Because
you
it is
watch it
always
again-
like attached on a string. Like you're getting there, and then I catch up. Now I go here. I catch up.
Yeah.
now I go
So
here,
if you
catch up.
watch again and you maybe watch it with that in mind and see if there are moments.
That's good.
It feels intentional. I felt
Yeah.
like it was.
I think you're
intentional.
right. Yeah.
There's a couple of things that I also heard
Oh yeah, other
people
questions.
discussing on. I heard some criticisms of, this show. And what's interesting is I had already thought of that. I had written down some ideas, and then I even saw Star Wars Explained. Who
Mhm.
Alex Damon, he always makes these great videos too.
Yeah.
Great video.
He loved the show, and he made this good video about how I think it was like headlined the Obi-Wan Kenobi does not retcon A New Hope at all. And it was addressing all these different claims of like
Well, I
so
never
many
thought
people,
it did at all.
all these
because there were a
false
bunch of people that were
retcons.
like, well, if this happens, you
What
just
it
have
is
to
is-
accept that this didn't. And
It's all these
people-
articles coming out that are bashing different things that are they're just completely inaccurate
It's people
information.
misinterpreting things that are going on. Like one of the things I heard a number of people
Go,
saying,
because I want to say one too. It's
well, I
just
heard a number of
ridiculous.
people saying, well, this retcons when Luke first learns what a lightsaber is, because Obi-Wan should have said, your father's lightsaber, and Luke, when he's looking bewildered, that they should have been like, the same thing that crazy Sith lady or Dark Jedi Inquisitor chased you outside of
Yeah.
Uncle Owen's house. I
Mhm.
heard someone say that, and a bunch of other people were like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I went back and watched the scene. He never sees a lightsaber.
He doesn't.
And they're actually
never
so
does.
focused on it. Like
Right.
the people that made it, Deborah Chow, is so intentional that she goes out of her way to make it clear
Right.
that he never sees
never
the lightsaber.
sees it.
When she gets around the corner, his feet are going up, never sees it.
Never
She
saw it.
she
Yeah.
unignites, turns it off when
That's right.
she's chasing him, and when he like hits his head and then he's like knocked out for a while, then
Boom.
she ignites it again, and then turns it off, and then later she
Yep.
comes back and it's off again. He never sees
When
it.
she carries, it's never ignited.
It's
when
never-
she
He
carry-
actually doesn't
carries
even
him
know
back.
that she saved him.
No,
He doesn't even know that.
He doesn't know that, and
Yeah.
and also the way
He
that
just
she doesn't
is
know that she
back.
used the Force on him either. He's like
No.
running and it happens, or it's like shown where she doesn't, and it's kind of like he trips.
Exactly.
No kid, and I heard someone else even criticize that and be like, "Well, you would know I use the Force." Okay, if I'm someone who's never even heard of the Force,
I'm
if
gonna
I am-
assume
if
I,
I
I'm
am-
gonna assume I tripped on
if
something.
I am
yeah.
10-year-old me and I'm running down the sidewalk or I'm playing basketball and all of a sudden I trip unexpectedly, I wouldn't go, "Is
Who-
there a superpower out
who
there?
used the-
Someone
who
Can
tripped me?"
people move things with their hands? How would I ever get to that conclusion?
Mm-mm.
I would think a million things
In the
before that
dark,
because I don't
Yeah.
know that
running
that's
through the rocks
I don't
on a
know
cliff.
that that's an option.
Perhaps I tripped.
If I don't even know that that's
Running
an
through the
option,
rocks on a
like
cliff.
if I've never heard of the Force
Yeah.
and don't know that that is possible, how would my mind ever wander? to that?
Redcon wouldn't be in my top 10
Yeah.
on
Wouldn't
that.
know. So
That's-
that's not
yeah.
even close there. And then another thing people were talking about, and then I'll let you go, Nate, too, is
That's crazy.
people were discussing the just the well, there's multiple things. Yeah, maybe I'll let you have one of
Yeah,
these,
Nate's
but
got something loaded.
I'll let you go first.
Well, I was just gonna say. I mean, I watched.
got a
It's
few
funny
here.
because Darth Chaco and Element 7, who were our guests last week,
yeah.
I watched one of Element's videos from Dyad and the Force, their channel. If you guys aren't, if you haven't checked them out, check them out. But he went through a thing, and he was addressing an article that was it was like 10. I can't remember the number, but it was like 10 or 15 plot holes in Kenobi, and he's like, okay, first off, let's see if these people know what the definition of plot hole is.
right.
Goes
or if
through.
you just misunderstood.
Or
Yeah.
he's got the info wrong.
And one of the things I thought was, this is when I really realized, okay, this article's a joke. It was like it was something like plot hole, and then the subtitle for this one, it was like, I don't know, 7th on the list was Reva chooses the worst time to try and attack Vader, and I was like, okay.
Okay.
And even Element's addressing this, and we're like, I'm
Mhm.
listening, I'm like, there's a very big, whether you agree with that or not, and you could
Mhm.
argue that was the only time she could attack him.
Yeah.
You could even say, yeah, sure, I think that was the worst time she could have tried to
Mhm.
attack him. Regardless, that's not a plot hole.
Not a plot hole.
You would just say, that's okay, she made a bad choice.
That's dumb.
Or maybe I would have written
not a
this
plot
differently.
hole.
That's
Right.
not a plot hole.
Right.
Plot holes are things that don't line up.
A
That
plot-
don't add up.
that is them making a decision that you're like, I think something else should have happened. That's
Right.
not a
Right.
plot
Just
hole.
because you think something else should have happened doesn't mean it's a plot hole.
No.
But those are like examples, and I'm like, no wonder so many people are hating on different
Yeah.
things, like whether it's Kenobi or other projects. I'm like, because you're reading articles that are addressing these things as plot holes and retcons and stuff. That's like, that's not
not
even
what
the
that
right
is.
definition. That's not even. That's just a creative choice that you disagree with. But yeah,
I saw someone said that this was another thing. After the final episode, I saw a number of people say, well, yeah, it doesn't make any sense that that Leia would send the help me Obi-Wan Kenobi message and
I thought they made
and
that
wouldn't
super clear.
I know.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be like, hey, Obi-Wan, I did. And I was like, did you not watch the Obi-Wan say, by the way, we have to
Can't tell
we
anybody.
can't tell anybody. It would put us at danger.
If anything, it made more sense of the original trilogy.
In fact, it makes
Right.
just watching A New Hope, it makes it very. It actually does even.
because she goes on
It
to
makes
say
it
Ben
even more
Kenobi.
rich. It makes it more rich when her true emotion comes out when she says, "When
Yeah.
I'm here with Ben Kenobi." Ben Kenobi.
'Cause
Now
otherwise
she
you're
doesn't
like-
show that emotion in the hologram, the holo
Mhm.
call that she
Right.
sends. She
Right.
just says like, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. You served my father in the Clone Wars," and it's this very formal thing because that makes sense. That's public knowledge of Obi-Wan having connections to the Old Republic. We
That's
know that her
right.
father
and
was
she
a
doesn't want to
senator.
she doesn't want to throw her father under the bus by saying, you're a Jedi. We've been helping, or we've been
Exactly.
hiding
As soon
out.
as you
We
start-
haven't sold you out for the last 20 years.
You can't say any of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. some of these criticisms, I'm like, did you watch the show? They made that very, very clear. Someone else, some other people were like, yeah, I didn't understand when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. And they're like, he wasn't, and there was debates of like, oh, he wasn't his apprentice when we last saw him. We're like, he never said that he was his apprentice when we last saw him. He said, when I left you. When I used to be trained by you, I left you.
Yeah.
He didn't say, last time I saw you, I was your apprentice, and now I'm the master. He says, when I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Even then,
I'm like, that makes sense.
Even then, it still makes sense regardless of how you look at it, because when he's standing down after making Obi-Wan go into the ground, basically, he calls him master.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he's basically mocking him in a sense that like you were my master, look at me now, you're down there,
and then he's defeated.
You're
He
defeated.
also
So it's showing that, and then when Obi-Wan turns around and recovers and defeats him, then now we see Vader in the original trilogy saying, "You're right. I was but a learner." Even in this moment,
I was going to say, if
when
there
you beat
is,
me here, I was still but a learner. Now I am the master.
If there is any self-reflection that Vader ever goes through,
which we know he does a lot.
He's always sitting there with his helmet off.
Sitting there back to just thinking.
But if he ever does have a moment of self-reflection, I think the way they present it in the show does. Obi-Wan shows him in 5 and then in 6. Well, in episode 5 and episode 6 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is that Obi-Wan is still the master. Yeah. Because there are mental sides of this. You don't even understand the fight that we're having. This is why when Obi-Wan and Vader fight each other in A New Hope, Obi-Wan is so at peace and when he sees Luke,
I'll become more powerful.
When he sees Luke and he knows this is the time, he is not defeated by Vader. He gives up.
Right.
And Vader is so confused by what's going on that he's stomping on half an inch of robes as if Obi-Wan's body is still underneath that. I always think that's hilarious too. Like clearly there's a pile of robes.
He's checking if there's a trap door.
There's not an old man's body there, and he's going. That's is he all gone? Is there still a Kenobi pinky
Something
left? Like nothing. But it's just that Obi-Wan has always seen, not even always seen, but I would say that especially as he's gotten more clarity and possibly with his training with Qui-Gon, he's realigned and understands what the true purpose is of his of what his mission is, what his goal is, and just what his purpose is. And Vader has never understood what his purpose is, and so each time they're fighting, it's safe to say they're almost never on the same page of what this battle is even about. Vader's trying to prove that he's stronger than Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan has never fought Vader trying to prove that he's stronger than him. He fought him the first time because he had to on Mustafar,
right?
And then couldn't bring himself to end it, but it kind of thought he ended it, and then he left. They made that clear in this show, is that he thought he was dead,
which we all kind of assumed.
Yeah, but then when they're fighting again in New Hope, Vader is not even having the same battle that he's having. This is a battle Obi-Wan's not trying to win. He knows when I'm going there, when I'm facing, like he's rewatching A New Hope again a couple days ago. He's searching for Vader, and then he comes around the corner and Vader has the saber out because Obi-Wan's not running from him. He's there because he knows this is time.
Yeah, it's time.
It's time to finally to do this. But then when he sees Luke and Luke sees Vader right there too, it's also the moment of, I have to buy Luke some time to get out of here.
Right.
Vader cannot capture Luke or kill Luke right now. It ends the whole thing. And if you strike me down, become more powerful than you possibly imagine. And it all adds up. But again, some people who, and this is not to say every single person has to love this show. You can have critiques. You can dislike it.
Yeah.
What we push back on is when I hear,
at least get it right.
I hear some of these that I'm like, did you even watch?
Get the info
not even
right. Start with the right
is,
information.
It's one thing if you have an opinion and you say this show did not move me. I would say, oh, that's surprising to me because it really moved me. But you can have your opinion.
Absolutely.
That's great. But if you say this does not line up, this breaks canon, and then I go, well, actually, it doesn't. Like
in fact, not
if
only
your
does
reason
it
for
not,
not
I
liking
think
it,
it actually makes more sense of.
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of these takes I'm seeing, and again, this is a minority. I would argue that.
Yeah,
a
lot of people really love the show.
Of loud,
can I go on my internet rant again?
Loud haters that seem like there's more out there than there's.
By the way, not to dive into
most
the dark
of the
side.
People,
I love a good rant though.
Most of the people really love this show, and it's. I mean, there's a reason it's the highest most
Yeah.
watched show in
I
Disney
love it.
Plus.
Gotta
Rant,
have a season two.
rant.
It's not really a rant. I just
tangent.
it's
tangent,
the problem.
tangent.
The problem with the internet's great, connect with people. The problem is every voice is equally as loud,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but every voice shouldn't be equally as loud.
yeah.
Just because you put up a page and just post something, it doesn't mean your opinion
Yeah.
should carry the same velocity or the same weight
Totally.
as someone who's spent a lifetime reading and studying.
Yeah.
But yet, when you look at them, the tweets are the same level. Like, you might have more followers, you might have more people watching, but if you have a take that's controversial, it's going to rise up and be seen as the same volume of everybody else.
yeah.
It didn't used to be that way. You used to have some kind of clout to have a paper, or write it published, or be
Right.
on TV. You had to kind of pay your dues a little bit. It doesn't mean you're better. It
Yeah.
just means you have done something to get there.
Right.
Now, anybody that watches 10 seconds of Star Wars can put stuff out there, and it's the same volume as,
That's-
Element 7. And these guys at Chucko, they've read everything.
Yeah.
It's
They're
impressive.
not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
it's-
don't
and
like it
it's-
because they
yeah.
feel like they could be, but they're not.
And I like that because it also makes it clear that you can enjoy, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, anything, Indiana Jones, whatever you love, you can enjoy it to whatever degree you want. We're not saying that to be a Star Wars fan, you have to have read every single book. You have to do this. You can dive in as deep
No,
as
but
you want.
do have to
Right.
live and breathe Star Wars.
Have to.
No, yeah, you have to at least be. If you can't name me 50 Jedi, if you can't name me 50 Jedi,
Oh,
I immediately started sweating because I went
I can
intentionally
name-
high because that would be hard.
that'd be a great game for the cast. Name that Jedi. We
Name
have
that
to-
Jedi.
Like,
Let's
no,
name
sure.
that Pokemon.
Yeah, it's just like the outline on the screen. And we go,
He's missing a hand. It could be either.
Sifo-Dyas. But you can
God,
be, you
almost
can
10
be,
years ago.
anyone can be a Star Wars fan. And
Right.
Like we were getting at there,
Yeah.
though.
If you're
It
going to
is
get on a
interesting,
podium,
though. It's interesting
better
that
have your stuff
sometimes,
together.
sometimes the people who are the loudest, most
That's
vocal, most negative are people that, based on your criticism, I can tell that one, you either, and again, you don't have to like the movies the same as me or have read this or this or this, but some of your critiques are coming from things, the answers are already out there. You just
Right.
clearly have not seen them or have
Yeah.
not read them, or you
Or
just
if-
have not
or
really
you got
taken
it from
the time to
someone
really
else that's
engage.
got-
Yeah.
or factually
Wrong.
not what happened.
Or
Yeah.
just factually
Like it's not. It
misinterpreting.
doesn't make sense because Luke and Leia shouldn't have met in the Obi-Wan series. Well, they didn't. So let's go
Yes,
back to the
exactly.
stuff like the
Yeah, well,
saber.
they
Well,
totally-
they didn't see it. He didn't see the
That's,
saber.
that's the
Yeah.
thing is there's
Intentionally did it.
so while we're going down this little rant, this
Rant,
ties in
rant,
great.
rant,
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 More
rant,
rants,
rant. I saw a review from someone on YouTube or something that has a big number of followers, does a bunch of movie review stuff.
Was it the
and
Star Wars Guys podcast?
Oh,
they're
man.
No.
great, by the way. They're
I've heard good
great.
things. I've heard good
Eh.
things.
No, I said big number of followers. Just kidding. We love you, Chad. That's all of our chat.
That's
There's just
chat,
one
by
guy
the way.
out. There's one guy,
Chad.
Chad, out there who's just eating some ramen. He's like, but
Love
there's some
ramen.
Bone broth.
This episode is sponsored by ramen. There's some. We only push back again on some of the critiques when we feel like you're just misinterpreting. Like you're either looking for something that's not there just to be super negative.
That's right.
Because there's things you can be negative about and say, I didn't like this. This
Yeah.
didn't come off. This rubbed
Yeah,
me the
there's
wrong
certain
way.
episodes I
fine.
liked
They
a
get
lot
it.
more than others.
They get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a take this week that I was like, we have to bring this up on the podcast,
Bad.
and I won't even shout out. who it was or anything.
Don't do
like
that. That
I
gives
won't
too
do
much
that.
cred.
Don't do that.
I don't
But we will rip your argument to shreds.
Yeah.
I heard a take of I didn't like. There's two parts of it. It was from the same couple of people we're talking about, but the same two people gave these two takes that I was like, I
so there's
completely
two of them.
disagree with
Narrow
this.
it down. Who we got?
One of the takes was, I just wanted, and I saw other people tweet this online too, and I actually responded to a little. I usually don't engage, but I did on this one because I just couldn't help it.
Ooh.
But someone said, my biggest critique of the show is I wish that we had gotten an Obi-Wan show that was actually focused on the character of Obi-Wan. And I said, what the heck kind of a show did you watch? And so I responded to that tweet. It actually got a little bit of attention of a bunch of people hopping on my side of it and said, said, "Yeah, man, I know. Who the heck was that old disenfranchised, broken Jedi gentleman that we kept seeing the camera follow around the whole time? Who young Leia helps, get back out there and try again and regain his humanity, and then has to." And I named off all of his accomplishments and basically the whole story of what he did. And there was everyone else like, "Yeah." And,
He replies,
there are
"Well, I
other
didn't
people.
watch it."
There were other people who commented too and said, like, "Did you watch Miss Marvel by accident? Like, is this? They are on Disney Plus. Like, there's."
Yeah.
But anyone who says that show
was not about
not about Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
Like, we've had the jokes, and
Again,
whether fair or
that doesn't
not,
mean you have to
we've
love
had
it.
the critiques of the Boba Fett show.
Yeah,
Had the 2 episodes that
people-
literally were about Mando.
Yeah.
We get it. They had ties to Boba for sure.
Yeah.
But even us who were big fans of Boba was like, they kind of had 2 Mando episodes in
Yeah.
there, and we
Yeah.
loved those episodes.
Yeah.
There was nothing even close to that in this show. This
No.
was the
No.
most character-centric
Mhm.
show that
Yeah.
we've gotten for Disney Plus Star Wars stuff, where the whole thing is based on him. And then like some people were like, "Yeah, but we did no arc, no arc. The whole thing is arc." Like there's, in fact, I'm surprised at the amount of
It's
action.
all one big arc.
I'm surprised.
The whole thing was arc.
The whole thing was arc. What's the deal with arc?
What's the deal with the arc?
What?
Why don't we have an arc?
Why don't we have an arc? No
What's
one makes
that
one
about?
arc, and now everyone forgets about the
Oh,
arc.
what?
What's the deal with this?
Hey, Jerry, you gotta have an arc.
But I again, that was like so out of left field, and I saw a bunch of people
Where's the
saying that
arc?
too. Where's the
I love how
arc?
we just go 5
Kramer.
minutes on Seinfeld and right back
Awesome.
into it.
Kramer, what
It's
you do with
awesome.
the arc?
I don't know, Jerry. I think Newman took the arc.
Hello,
Um,
Jerry.
This has gone off the rails. But I was like,
Yeah,
I don't
that's-
understand that criticism at
Yeah.
all. And I did see
Man, they're
other
trying to
people
get-
saying a similar thing. So it wasn't just the one. And I was like, did people really watch?
That's the thing is like
Can we
You can
come up
like or
with
dislike
something?
it, but did you really think that that was focused on any other character other than Obi-Wan? There was other. Reva had an arc that 70% of the screen time, if not more, was Ewan McGregor on the screen
yeah.
Right.
with him. It was all even the Reva
know what we
storyline
mean.
is
And part of the
parallel
issue
to
is
Obi-Wan.
part of the issue
Yeah.
is if you address that and try to just correct the wrong information, there's a lot of people that online would immediately think, oh, well, you immediately think that it was a fantastic show, fantastic episode, and that I should just like it. It's like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I just don't want you to not
what I'm
like
saying.
it for the wrong
That's-
information.
Bingo.
Nate
No, but I'm
says,
just saying-
I'm
I know
not
what
saying that at all. That is what Uncle is saying.
That is what Uncle has said.
And I heard
no. What I'm saying,
I know what you
don't.
mean.
You don't have to. I just don't
don't
want
have to
you
go-
to. I don't want you to not like it. Same reason why I point out all the things I like about The Last Jedi.
Right.
If I point out all the things I like
hate
about
it
The
for the
Last
right
Jedi, and someone's like,
reasons.
I see what you're saying. I still don't like it. Okay, that's great. But I don't want you to, because I want people to enjoy Star Wars the way
Yeah.
I enjoy Star Wars. I love
Right.
Star Wars. I
Mm-hmm.
love these things. So if we're able to share why we like a certain moment, because we see how it connects and how it fits really well, we would like to share that because we don't want someone to not like it or to not get enjoyment out of a series or a movie because they actually might be interpreting something wrong or they saw an article that said this is that and that's wrong.
Yeah.
We don't want you to not like something based
Because
off
you get the
wrong
wrong
information. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So,
You know what we need? We need a Star Wars takedown phrase that will just shut it down. Like you get in an argument, you just
Well,
say,
it's I
if
think
you just
I think we
say-
got it. It's
So we
Harrison Ford. It ain't that
Yeah,
kind of
kinda
movie,
movie.
kid.
Like,
we
if
tee
you
it up to
just
Uncle,
say-
then Nate comes in, finish him.
Finish him. Like if you
Mortal
just say,
Kombat.
like you could totally shut it down if we just say, "Okay, boomer," like it just shuts down the whole thing, right?
You immediately just start, you just
What
start
do you
attacking them
do? Just
personally.
cut you down.
Like, oh, yes.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah
miss-
you're right. You're right. Immediately I feel bad.
So what are you gonna do? We need a Star
Even
Wars.
the hypothetical that got
we need
me.
an "Okay, boomer" for Star Wars, which like it's condescending. It shuts down the argument. It makes them feel about this big, and they cannot come back from it.
Yeah.
Because everything they say then feeds in. Like, "Okay, boomer," you say something, you feed right into the boomer.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
boss Nass.
Okay, boomer. Right. We need something like that for Star
Okay,
Wars
boss
trolls. It's got to
Yeah.
be something like, I
like
know.
it. We
Okay,
need a
Jar
Star
Jar.
Wars
I don't know.
troll.
Voodoo.
We do.
Okay, yeah,
We do. We need a Star Wars troll repellent.
A
We
troll
need something
repellent
to-
phrase. Something.
We need something like that for sure.
Uh,
I like that. We'll turn that over to the chat. And
Yeah,
if you
figure-
have any ideas, reach
we
out
need
to our
an
social
okay
media.
boomer equivalent
We
for
need- okay,
Star Wars
Jabba.
trolls.
We need a way to take down the trolls.
Troll takedown.
One final bad
Yeah,
take
became troll.
from the same group of people I had to.
Same
had to
group.
Yeah, same group.
Is this the one with large following or no?
This is a large following.
Wow. Send them this way.
Okay, boomer.
this was
My
a
Kathy.
take. This is one that I felt passionate about because I love The Last Jedi. Shocker, this one's about The Last Jedi. But their take was surprised by the show, the Obi-Wan show we got, and didn't say necessarily if this was a positive or a negative, but said it just feels so inconsistent with what the message of Star Wars has been lately that it's weird.
We talked about
It's
this.
so weird to get this. I mentioned this to Nate, I
We
think.
talked about this earlier.
He said
he actually
this is-
FaceTimed me this morning at or maybe I called
yesterday, or was this
You. It
morning?
was like at 7
I had to
a.m.
tell Nate. I said I just saw the worst Star Wars take I've ever heard, and I need you to tell you this.
This may be closer than
This
anything I've
was-
ever
This
seen.
can't wait for the podcast.
This
We gotta talk
was
about this now.
this is what the take was. This is so inconsistent with what we've seen from recent Star Wars, namely the movie. They said it's so weird to see this show. This was also right after they just said that Obi-Wan had no arc. They then say that this show, which is all about this obsessing over the past, this learning from your failures, this.
Yeah.
Feels so completely 180 opposite. And this was, I think, it was like their quote was like, and maybe they are trying to like undo and make it clear of like where their stance is now. But it's weird hearing a movie like they said like the most famous quote, the most quotable or recognizable quote from The Last Jedi is that you got to kill the past. Which, first of all, is not the actual quote at all. But let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
From the
But
future Sith Lord.
and
Yeah.
and they said that's just so weird. And then they go
Which
into
is actually
this,
the complete opposite of what that
they
whole
go
movie
into
was
this
about.
like 5-minute tangent about like they both clearly were not Last Jedi fans because I don't really watch a ton of their stuff, but they were talking back and forth and they were like, yeah, this so and this is all the Last Jedi is about how you need to kill the past, and then the other guy goes, yeah, but does anyone actually really take the Last Jedi as like canonical advice? Is like no, I mean no one really treats the Last Jedi as I mean I don't think so. I mean
No one
that's-
single-handedly has the
oh,
greatest
gosh, you're
themed
getting- you're
message
getting
in all
my
of
blood
Star Wars.
boiling.
I'm going
on
to take
this
another look at Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh man, it's
so
got
Turned
what's so
around.
funny
It's turned
about
around.
this is even if they said I hate the Last Jedi, it would have been like fair.
That's
It's
great.
your opinion.
But to say
that doesn't mean it doesn't have
But
the best message.
you misinterpreted the entire
Yeah.
like this is why I know of Ryan Johnson's at home and he like because
He's
Ryan
just
Johnson's
like-
on Twitter and
Yeah.
he gets tagged in a million things a day and
Right.
he actually is active on Twitter and sometimes he'll respond to some Star Wars stuff but
Yeah.
like bad takes he usually doesn't.
He usually
respond to
doesn't.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's got to be pulling out his hair
Like,
when he
there-
hears
It's like,
people go.
did you not watch my movie?
Dude, what? That quote comes from the villain of the movie.
Right.
The
They
villain
didn't finish
says
the last
you
20
have
minutes
to-
of the movie.
The villain says to Rey, "Let the past die. Kill it if you have to." A disheartened, broken Luke doesn't say you have to kill the past, but he says like it's time for the Jedi to end. In the same film, we're not talking about the end of the series or anything. In the same film, Ryan Johnson makes it perfectly clear. Luke was wrong. Ben is wrong. And how do we know this? Because Luke says it to Ben. That's the whole. That's the
No,
whole
everything-
ending of the movie
everything
is
you just
Luke
said
says
was
it
wrong.
to Kylo and says,
You want a story arc?
"Honey,
You want a
everything
character
you
arc?
just said."
There's one.
Yeah, he said
It's a
everything you
journey.
just said was wrong.
Right.
Right.
The rebellion is reborn today. The
Mhm.
war is not over. The rebellion is reborn today, and I will not be the last Jedi. The whole point of the movie is to not forget the past,
To
but
learn,
from it,
It's the
to learn
greatest
from your
quote in
mistakes.
all of Star Wars.
to learn from your mistakes,
The greatest teacher
get
failure
back
is.
out there. Don't be afraid of failure because the fear is what crippled Luke. The fear is what cripples Obi-Wan. That's why this, again, the reason even more than ever this is tied to The Last Jedi is Obi-Wan is, like Luke is the
Begins,
Obi-Wan
yeah.
character.
Mhm.
Luke in The Last Jedi is very similar to this Obi-Wan character after the dramatic. He
Right,
loses
right.
Ben to the dark side. He loses Ben Solo to the dark side. Luke
Right.
does, and he loses Anakin. And what Luke learns, and that's why Yoda says explicitly, is this is so tied to Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters.
That's right.
This is what Obi-Wan has to learn. This is what Luke has to learn is the greatest teacher failure is. You did your best. We lost. You know, he says, lose Ben Solo, we did. Lose Rey, we must not. It's the same thing with him and
That's
Luke.
right.
We lost Anakin. Lose Luke, we must not. And if we just stay out of it and we're crippled by fear, you're not going to learn from it. Your
Right.
past failures are
The
going to be
Jedi
the end of
will
it.
end.
It's going to end everything because we're afraid to get back out there because we're afraid
Yeah.
of failing. When Ben says in episode 1 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series when he's talking to Bail Organa. And he says, you have to. You're the only one who can do this. And he says, well, what if I can't? He's afraid.
That's
He's
right.
afraid of what he's not just afraid of like, oh, I'm just going to get caught or this. He's afraid of what if I let her down? I can't do that. You better find someone else. And by the end, he learns it. And the only reason I go on this rant is that it's interesting when you hear your biggest critique of the show. And again, I'm not saying that there aren't valid critiques, because there are. Your biggest critique of the show is that you misunderstand The Last
You
Jedi.
misunderstand it.
You don't understand it.
Yeah.
You don't
Right.
understand what this show is about, or that and the way it was presented too was like almost like this one had a good message. I don't like this show though because it doesn't line up with The Last Jedi, which
And
had a
that's-
bad message.
which-
You're like,
And
no,
it's not saying
No,
you
actually
have
had a
to
good
like The
message.
Last
they
Yeah.
actually
Jedi.
have the same
It's
message.
perfectly
They're the
together.
same message.
And it's not saying you have to like The Last Jedi, but
No.
don't hate it or hate this
Misunderstand it,
series
make it
because the
misunderstand it.
message you got from it was wrong.
Yeah, I hate this mustard. That's ketchup.
But now I'm
This
gonna
is the
go.
worst mustard ever.
I'm gonna go tell
It's
everyone.
red. That's ketchup.
I'm gonna get
Moron.
online.
Moron.
I'm gonna get online and tell everyone how bad this mustard is, and then people, "Yeah, that is ketchup.
Okay.
That's ketchup.
Yeah.
Yep.
My
You
fault.
can still
We just don't want-
you can
My
still
fault.
dislike it.
You can still like
you just,
it.
you just don't know what it is.
Not a big fan all the time.
Yeah.
But call it what it is.
So that's some of the critiques.
Well, you're watching
There's
episode
valid
4
critiques,
right
but those
now,
are some
right?
of that I thought that were just out there a little bit.
Hilarious.
So you just watched episode 4.
Yeah.
That's like being shot out of a cannon.
Yes, and talking about not
From
episode
beginning
4 of
to end.
Kenobi, but A New Hope.
A New
Star
Hope.
Wars. Yeah.
Episode 4.
Yep.
Some would
Yep.
say getting shot out of an escape pod.
An escape. Right. It's just like it's on. Hit the button and you're launched, man. And Ryan Johnson is a filmmaker who likes to surprise you, and he puts twists and turns.
Yeah.
And granted, episode 7 was JJ played it safe.
Yeah.
He
JJ
said
has
that.
since even said, like, I played it safe on
He
7.
played it
Yeah,
safe.
yeah.
Ryan Johnson didn't. He made
No, he
a
went for it.
film that was set in Star Wars, but
In
it's
fact,
got
there's a
all
lot of people
those,
now that are coming around to saying, "Look, I don't like The Last Jedi, but at least Ryan Johnson took a swing at it."
exactly. And I just don't.
There are
I'm
more
not
than
sure
a lot
we
of
were
people
ready.
saying that.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
that people were ready for that.
No.
No,
To be
at
an
the time they weren't,
interesting
yeah.
film with twists and turns and lies and deception from dialogue. That's not usually how we know
Yeah.
the bad guy says stuff that's wrong and the good guy. The
Yeah.
bad guy's saying stuff that's right and the good guy's saying stuff that's wrong, right? And then
Just
they
wait a
both
second.
switch.
Yeah.
So, but people are figuring that out. So bring back to Kenobi. This is a slower paced
Yeah.
journey. It's not we get on the ship, we fly up in space, and we go. It's
Yeah.
a slower journey, a trajectory moving from separation and coldness to compassion and connection. And Obi-Wan could never have had that discussion with Leia at the end, at the beginning. He didn't
Could
even
not.
look at her.
No.
Right. He couldn't.
He wouldn't barely look at her.
Because-
Leia, you have to stay with me. What are you doing? No, that's not who I
Right.
am. That's not. It's just very. We got to get you home. We got to get you back.
Did you know my
Yep.
parents? No.
Right. He didn't have that time for this stuff.
Yeah.
People are not all good,
Granted,
Leia.
it's
He's
his,
so upset.
it's his mission,
Yeah.
but there's no like love there.
No.
No.
And at the end, Obi-Wan is now looking
It's
people
all
in the eye
compassion.
again.
It's all love. Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't turn away. He doesn't dip his head. There's
Yeah.
He goes out of his way to share
It's
that with her because he
different.
knows this is important to
Didn't
her.
have
Yeah.
to.
I could just keep this. She's not asking about it now.
And her
Right,
response
right.
I want you
is
to know.
just so great.
Yeah, I love
Her
it.
response is so good.
I know.
And just like I wish I could tell you more or whatever.
So
She
you don't
just
have to.
says, You
It's
don't
okay.
have to.
You don't have
It's
to.
okay.
You have to. I've got my
love
parents,
it.
my loving parents right here who
It's
are,
awesome.
I
who
love
are doing all
it.
for
I
me.
love it. It ties
Yeah.
directly to Rey.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it's-
matter who your
And
parents are.
and who better for Luke to say, Leia knew the truth about your parents too.
Mhm.
But it was showing it didn't matter. It didn't matter to her when she was younger. It doesn't matter to
Didn't-
her when she was training you, Rey, when you were older. It didn't
That's right.
matter because your parents, your family, those are the people you're choosing to be with, the ones that you're training with, that really love and care for you, not necessarily just who you're related to,
That's right,
where you come from.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
so good.
I love this show. Talking about overall thoughts, just
I know.
Me
as
too.
far as I really do view it now as essential viewing
Yeah,
in the
I-
Skywalker
It
saga.
throws
as far
off
as,
my list of what order,
it totally does.
because it has to fit in. It has to be a part
It
of
has to be part of it.
That again, there are multiple things throughout. starting from even the first episode. The first episode's phenomenal of this show. And it's a very different feel than when we get to the end because he's in a very different place, the character.
Yeah.
Some might say that's even a character arc.
How dare you?
Where's
An
the
arc.
arc? I don't see
Where's
the arc.
Kramer? Where's the arc?
Well, think about it too. We go back all the way back. We talked about. we start with Luke in A New Hope at his age, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have a Star Wars episode. We start with 8-year-olds, except for episode 1.
Yep.
Now we do.
Uh-huh.
We're starting in a similar age. Now we're a little bit older,
Yeah.
but a similar age with children in the Obi-Wan series as we started with Anakin in episode 1.
Yeah.
A little bit older,
Little
but
bit,
still,
yeah. But around the same,
we're
definitely
not
around the same
teenagers
stage
like
of life,
we
for
were,
sure.
like we had before.
Yeah.
So
What's the show that's coming
interesting.
out? The younger group.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Andor. I was
Andor?
like, oh, that's a
the
No,
one
no,
on
sharp
no,
turn.
no.
the one on the screen.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no.
a sharp
The
turn.
show that's starting with the
Oh,
younger.
talking about
what's it called?
Skeleton Crew.
The Jedi
Skeleton
young-
Crew.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
That's what that reminded me. It'd be nice to get
Oh, man, it's
a
gonna be
live
s-
action. That's live action, right? It'll be nice to get
Live
that
action,
with a
yes.
younger.
The first thing I thought of was
Crew.
that episode with is it on Rebels or is it on Clone Wars? With I think it's on Clone Wars with the crew of kids, and Ahsoka is with them and they're trying.
Oh
to
yeah,
escape,
yeah, yeah.
and they
Clone
take
Wars.
over
yeah.
the ship.
Clone Wars.
Yep,
Clone Wars, yeah, I had
Yeah.
the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway, it reminded me of something like that where they're
Yeah.
all doing their part and they're fighting
It's
off the
Rough,
bad
Yeah.
guys.
what's her name? I have to look it up. Her name. The two kids you're talking about with
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ahsoka.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did come to a big decision during this show.
Was it during my rant?
It was not during your rant, not during this show, but during the Obi-Wan
Gotcha.
show. And I mentioned this. I mentioned this to Nate. We talked about it before, and I think I mentioned it on here. And that is this idea of, it is, we are getting canon, and these things do need to line up. But when they don't, I am completely fine with that, because for 40 years now, I've swallowed things from, difficulties with the original trilogy, difficulties with the prequels.
But we
They're-
just pass over those ones.
We don't
now.
think about those. And I for one do not want to watch a show where all it is I got to get
Check
the
box to
corners
check
to
it,
line
yeah.
up.
Honestly,
That's
we
the
see
recipe
some of that. Yeah.
for that's going to be terrible.
That inhibits storytelling.
Please,
Or that
continue to surprise
Yeah.
me.
I feel like
Strix,
Marvel
yeah.
has even ran into some of that
It's
as of late
gets
too.
hard
Yeah.
when we
Just
get
checking
and
boxes.
when we start filling in spaces. The boxes are getting so small. These guys have to thread the needle
Yeah.
to tell a story, and I don't want the stories.
And
to
if the story is
become-
already something that you can make up in your mind, if it's
Yeah, let
already
me-
your
I
head
enjoy it
canon, it's like,
already.
why do we need to see that?
Boom. Yeah. So I'm comfortable with if you have to do things that don't line up, either leave it out or just tell me the story and let me figure it out. I'm okay
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
figuring it out. I was okay with Leia and not being upset. She more, consoling Luke when Obi-Wan dies, and we don't hear anything about Andor or about her whole planet's destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
You would think that Alderaan being destroyed
And we
would
just
be
go,
the focus, but no, it's Obi. Oh, it's okay.
I mean, As far
Right.
as
It's just-
as
I don't
far
know.
as
A guy who
big-
went out willingly
right.
versus
Oh,
an entire planet that
and
got blown up.
And I was okay with that because it was just
We're
what
just like,
I was
it is
presented
what it
with.
is.
You go through it.
people forget
It's okay.
that
It's the story.
Return of the
that I
Jedi,
like.
that Luke and Leia being siblings was a hard right turn,
Boom. Like
which was not
no.
hinted at one bit in A New Hope and Empire. In
Right.
fact, if they had hinted at it, the emotional flirtation stuff would be very cringeworthy,
Would
knowing that at
be
the same
weird.
time, us as an audience are
Which it
supposed
is
to know.
now, even when you go back. I would say that actually
But I-
changed the way I view those.
But the
those
way we-
original two
But
But
movies.
the way
Exactly
we
right.
accept
Now.
it, but the way we accept it now is that it's
They
the
didn't know.
funny, just real
Yeah.
world of George didn't know yet,
That's right.
and then he
Yeah.
made this decision.
Yeah.
But if you're watching, this ties into the whole discussion of what order should you introduce it to
Yeah.
your
Had the
kids, or
internet
what.
been around between 5 and 6, what
If this
the
would
world have
happen,
been?
people would go, "What the heck? Why
Right.
did they kiss now?" And now, has George ever
He's-
seen Star
He's
Wars?
retconning.
Like,
George.
has George ever seen Star Wars? He, like Ryan Johnson, probably did this to spit in the face of real Star Wars fans.
Recursion.
Like, no, he made it. This thing, the dumbest criticism
Spit
people
in
would
the-
say.
he
You
did it
clearly don't
intentionally.
love it. Yeah. Have you watched The
Have
Director
you
and the Jedi?
watched it?
Ryan Johnson
Dedicate
loves
their
Star Wars.
life to this.
He
stuff.
knows a lot more about it than
But we're
the
okay. I
emotional
mean-
themes of what's there.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
That's fine.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to be okay with this because It's like you said, it's a great story. It's very
I
emotional.
honestly think it
That's
makes
the love
more
it.
sense of the originals. I think.
I think maybe
I think
so.
the stuff that actually lines up to make
And I'm
more sense of the stuff that normally I'd be like, why does she react like that?
Why
to
does she
Ben?
do
When
that?
just in the same movie, she a little bit ago tried to send the message that made it sound
Yeah.
like they don't know each other.
Luke, switched
Yeah.
off your computer for something you learned 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Shouldn't you turn it back on? No, I got it.
I got it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
The entire galaxy is in your hands. Turn off your computer.
This
What?
I
Why?
love
Use
the
the Force.
scene. So the scene in New Hope. I
Wait,
wish
didn't you
I
die? You're dead.
I wish I remembered the general's name.
We just take it for granted.
I wish I remembered the rebel pilot general's name who walks over the older gentleman when it's who is it?
Right.
Luke and Biggs.
Jump
when
in
they're
the
talking?
ship, kid.
Yeah, Luke and Biggs. I think it was Luke and Biggs are talking,
Yeah.
and like gosh, I don't have the exact quote.
You'll
but,
be fine.
But when he's talking,
We
he's
can
first.
count on you.
He's first talking to him, and he like questions in 5 seconds. He questions Luke, like, "You sure you can handle one of these?" And then Biggs goes, "You kidding me? Luke's he's the best star pilot." This, and he looks at him and he goes, "You'll do all right." I'm like, what the heck is this? Like,
We only have 9 of these, so go ahead and take one of them, you
he goes-
17-year-old
he literally,
genius.
He calls him out and says, "You can't really do this, can you?" And then
Right.
Biggs says, "You'll do fine." And then hey, "You'll do all right." And like it says it's like it was Yogi Bear, like it's just, he says boo, like it's just weird. Hey, you'll do all right, and then he walks away. I'm like,
I think you'll be
what the
fine in
heck
there.
are we watching here?
Why?
And this is A New Hope, which I love. But I was watching that and thought that's an abrupt, just in one. Again, this is an example of George's faster and more intense. Kind of get through the
Exactly.
dialogue. We're just trying to get this along here.
Yeah.
That was good
That's
enough.
impossible, even for a computer. I can do it.
Yeah,
Oh,
impossible.
okay.
That's the whole. That's
It's
the whole
easy
little,
for me. I've been shooting rats. Oh, okay.
Great.
Great. Every pilot in there is like, this will never work. Looks like I've done it. I do it all the time.
By the
Oh,
way,
man.
Luke,
Oh,
who is
this
also,
guy.
I'm
But
a
it's
great,
okay. I
I'm
loved
a great.
it.
Yeah, I know. It's also
Right.
we don't ever
Loved it.
question the fact that Luke's
shooting
Luke's a
rats.
great pilot. You ever been off world, kid? No, you ain't no pilot. What you flying? You're dusting ain't like dusting crops, boy. Like you're flying around Tatooine. Like
He knows it all.
you're-
What's that flashing? You don't know what the flashing is, really? what do you?
How are you supposed to fly?
It's the deflector shield.
You're-
Ball.
You're a great pilot who's never jumped to light speed once in his life.
All I'm
10,000.
saying-
Good
Never
luck
been
getting
off
your own
planet.
ship.
All
Never been
I'm
off
saying
world.
is we were comfortable with all
Yeah,
of
we
those.
lo-
I'm gonna embrace all of these.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Is
love it.
if we
all-
want to
I
go
love
down
it.
that,
I like 'em.
if we want to go down that route, we can point out every single movie has
Right.
those types of things. So you're
Right.
like, we
I just
overlook
chalk it up
'cause
as
I
that
love it.
that is Star Wars. All
Yeah.
of that. All of that is what makes
It
Star
goes
Wars.
with it.
It makes Star Wars. The Jar Jar, all of it.
It reminds
goes
me
with
of the
it.
classic.
Absolutely.
It makes without that, I'd be like, oh, now it's kind of weird.
It's missing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It reminds me of there's a great on YouTube. I mean, it was on TV first, but on YouTube you can look up. I never watched a ton of Family Guy, but there's a great little Family
either.
Guy bit about Family Guy's Star Wars.
Oh,
'cause
I've heard
there's-
about seeing that.
and they're doing the whole that's impossible. Not even
For a
It
computer.
ain't impossible. It ain't impossible. He's a bullseye round blast on a T16 back home. It's not bigger than 2 meters. And they sit there, and then the guy goes, "Can I talk to you for a second?"
Can I have just
And he
a minute?
pulls Luke over to the side, and he's like, "What's up?" He's like, "I don't know. I thought we were, having this whole thing, and then just sort of sandbagged me back there. He's just like, what? Oh, he sandbagged?" And they start fighting and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, have a nice assault, you jerk." And he storms off, and Luke's sitting there, and it's
That was bigger than 2 meters.
and then the guy
That was
looks and just doesn't. In A New Hope, the guy just takes it,
Right.
and in this he goes,
Can I talk to you?
"Can I?" Like,
Can I have
like
a
that
minute?
was not
I mean-
okay.
I
Can
mean,
we step out
You
real quick?
totally just made fun of me in
Just a
front of
second,
you.
in front of
Sandbagged.
all
Oh, I
hilarious.
sandbagged.
Mon Mothma's right there. She heard every word you just said, and I had to sit there and take it.
Have a great assault, you jerk.
Sorry, sir.
Oh,
That's so
boy.
great.
I'll say all that to
anyway.
say we loved the Obi-Wan series, and sure you can always nitpick with Star Wars, but we make the stuff we make fun of is because
Is
we
it
love
perfect?
Star Wars. It's fun to make fun of the stuff. They're like, that didn't really land for me as well as this. Or you can tell like,
Was
well,
the
not
trench
the
coat
best
a little
writing.
But that's all right.
Trench- I don't worry about it.
It wasn't my favorite, but I didn't think much of it. I just thought, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
And I
I
kept
thought-
going. I thought,
In fact,
my first thought was,
fine.
someone's got to see them. And
I thought
eh.
that Obi-Wan should have had Leia on his shoulders, and they should have gone giant trench coat. And just like the classic-
Monstars.
Glasses at the top and the big feet running to the thing.
I thought that
the
would be great.
Monstars
about
going
it.
to the NBA game to steal the powers.
That'd been great. You can get out of Fortress Inquisitorius like that. I love it.
Passports, please.
It's you know what it is? It's the Austin.
Thank you.
It's the Austin
Whoa.
Powers.
It's a little
where
tall
Austin
for a-
Powers is on Mini-Me, and you got little Leia's
Right.
legs on the bottom.
That is the great Austin Powers joke of instead of him getting on top, Austin's on top of the
Austin's on Mini-Me, and you see Mini-Me's legs.
Yes.
tiny
You see
legs.
Leia's legs.
And
and
then
all
He's
he's-
that.
walking.
And he's going, whoa,
Yeah.
like he's losing his balance.
Hold
and
still, Leia. We'll never get out of here.
everything. So good.
So good.
Oh, man.
Oh
I
man, can
love
you
it.
imagine how people would have responded?
So funny. So good.
Glasses half full.
And look at us. That's why
Pepsi's-
we're dying.
Pepsi's fine.
I love Uncle's. He's recapping our
Pepsi's
what we
fine.
stand by.
And
And
it's
that's ketchup, not mustard.
moron.
It's ketchup. I ate this mustard. Well, that's because it's ketchup, moron.
What's that mustard? That's ketchup. You find yourself floating home, kid.
What's that mustard? It's ketchup, moron. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be our. That's gonna be a new. We're gonna
Our
have
new
a
merch.
merch drop. It's ketchup.
Ketchup,
I
you
hate this
moron.
mustard. It's ketchup, moron.
Oh, okay. I'll tweet that out.
Oh, that's so
Okay.
good. I love it.
That's so great.
Well,
oh man.
Do we look towards the future?
Yeah.
As
before we wrap up, let's definitely get to some Andor.
I love that this is
Definitely get
this
to
is
some
supposed to be
Andor.
an Obi-Wan recap and Andor prep. We've gone like 2 hours on Obi-Wan recap, and then we go, well, before we wrap up, should we mention the word Andor?
We checked the box. Let's
Oh my
fill
goodness.
that gap. No.
It's got half the screen. We got to
Oh
go
my
another 2
goodness.
hours.
That's true.
Yeah.
We can do it.
It's supposed to be equal.
Um,
We have to adjust that, move that saber
Like,
that's
put a
dividing it.
new
By
thumbnail.
the end, it's just going to be Andor like peeking up.
this little. It's just. That's all it is.
It's just her. No, Andor. I mean, what's the date? When we
Andor
when
is
we-
August 31st.
August. Well,
We're recording this right now, and
August.
the day we're recording this is
31st.
June 29th. This is 2 months away. That's
Yeah.
not long at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is
Man.
going to be here soon.
Andor.
Mandor.
Mandor.
I'll tell you what I'm excited
Mandalorian.
for.
Mandor.
You know what I
Mandor.
love most about Rogue One was and I don't want this to come out wrong, the lack of Jedi and lightsabers. It was refreshing. It was like you can't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody with a lightsaber. And now
Yeah.
the reality of the universe is it's not that common. In fact, nobody did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
In fact, the
now-
Force, all that stuff was kind of it was a myth,
Myth.
as Han says.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that universe.
I also
And we
really
just
we
just
might have some
enjoy.
things. We might have some Vader stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I really
The crux of
enjoy
it.
going like exactly what you're saying. I love the prequels. You get a ton of lightsabers.
Yeah.
I love all that.
Yeah. I
But
do too.
just as much, I love the Mando, where it's not always like now we get the dark saber, but
Right.
then I really enjoy, and when we've talked about it on the podcast too, Lost Stars, where it's just diving into the characters of what's going on in the world. Where the Empire's taken over,
Mhm.
what are people's thought process? There's a lot of people that are like, no, of course the Empire's great. They
Yeah.
came, they brought order to our planet, they
That's right.
brought us resources,
Mhm.
they basically revamped and upgraded our entire planet, gave people jobs by
Mhm.
allowing people to enlist, and
Mhm.
you're like, yeah, that for them, they're like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, the
Of course
manipulation
they're gonna-
by the
yeah,
Emperor.
Of course, they're going to
the
look at the
Palpatines.
Emperor and be like, well, yeah, you've done all this for us.
He's
Now
done a
we
lot of
know
good.
it was all scam. He was
Right.
just trying to manipulate everybody and get control. But from their perspective, you get to see that, and I like the idea of kind of taking a turn. I think this is a great series to come following the Obi-Wan and Anakin,
Mhm.
the Obi-Wan Vader rematch of the century.
Yeah.
We get some powerful Force abilities, some great lightsaber fighting, and then kind of take this turn towards more of the like, what's going on with everybody else?
Mhm.
What's going on? What's
think
the
I like-
actual
I
process?
think I
around the
like
world?
it so much because it feels like I could be in that one.
That's
Feels
the
a little
thing
more
is-
like-
I feel like
yeah.
I could step into that world and
It's a little more
contribute.
relatable,
Yeah.
almost.
Like
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones. What am I going to do? Just stand there and die? I can't.
I'll be a
This I could do. I feel like I would be.
Yeah.
I could have some sway
Yeah.
in this.
It
One
makes
of
you
the-
feel like I could join the rebellion.
I could do that.
Well,
I
we've
could
talked-
kill stormtroopers with
Yeah.
it.
We've
In
talked
the
before. I
corner,
know
there's-
Uncle
We got a better
especially.
shot than that guy.
Yeah.
We've talked before. I know Uncle
Clanker.
especially. You brought this up. Of while we love the Jedi stuff and the mythical Force stuff is awesome. That's very much a huge, if not for some people and for a lot of people, one of the biggest things of Star Wars. But also going back to the original Star Wars, A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi especially. I've always been really, and this is why it's my favorite era of Star Wars. And that doesn't mean I'm not excited. I'm excited for Acolyte. I'm excited for all the High Republic stuff, Old Republic, wherever it goes. But the Rebellion versus the Empire, to me, is always been at the core of Star Wars. Now that it takes different forms in the Old Republic, or maybe in different times. There's in the sequel era, it's obviously
Order.
Resistance and First Order, but the classic Stormtrooper, the classic
Terrible shot.
the the guerrilla warfare style of like we are just it's
bunch
just
of shinies.
there are people who are equipped with blasters, but it's normal people. Like
That's right.
there are people who are fighting and are defending their homes, and there are people who are more skilled than others and have like military experience and all of that. But it's also this is a big galaxy wide fight. It's bigger than just I know a lot of times we think the Jedi is like the highest of the high, like Jedi versus Sith is huge, but the fight is light versus dark. It's bigger than just Jedi and Sith. Yeah, one represents the light, one represents the dark, but so does the Empire, and so does the Rebellion.
That's right.
And like you said, the very small percentage of people out there are Jedi or have Force sensitive abilities. The rest are just the regular people like us.
That's right.
And this fight
You made me
affects
think of something,
them.
too.
This fight affects them.
We're
This
the ones
war.
who sway
The majority of people out there are the normal people that are affected by this,
right.
that have to then decide: do we just sit there and take it and live in just this this oppressive version of what the world has become now? And what looks great on Andor is it looks like we're going to get different locations. One, it's also shot. Even though I love the stuff shot on the volume, this feels big because this was shot like in Europe. This was shot on location. It actually feels in scope. You can tell the practical effects. You can tell.
It reminds me of Rogue One.
Trailer
It looks very much Rogue One.
Very much Rogue One.
very big.
But then I love when Star Wars dives into the like politics stuff of the prequels. When it's done right, it's
I'm getting
so
excited.
good.
Just thinking about it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like I love some TV shows that do like that dive into the politics, manipulation, corrupt organizations, governments, the infusion of the empire, like the emperor's control on this. All that stuff fascinates me, and the stuff we've got in the trailer of Mon Mothma and the view of the Senate, like the actual Senate chamber stuff. I cannot wait.
It's funny you
for
said that because
I'm as excited as I am for actual just on
Imperial
the
officers
battle.
walking
Exactly.
around
And I
love
politics
it.
of it.
it's funny you say that because one of the
Give me
things
some
you
Krennic,
just
too.
reminded me too
Oh
was
man,
Give me some Ben
Oh,
Mendelsohn.
yeah.
Krennic.
Why
He's
not?
around.
I would love
He's
it.
in
I
there.
would
Why
love
wouldn't
it. One of the things you reminded me too was I was just thinking was I don't know if this will happen, but it would be cool to see a hologram or a message go out, or maybe even in person in the Senate, of Palpatine playing that political role now as the Emperor.
Of course.
We don't really see
totally,
a lot
yeah.
of that.
We see
don't
the
see
shot
a
of the
lot of
Senate. He
Yeah, we
should
see-
be in there.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't see a lot of that in the original trilogy of
Right.
him actually, because you forget he is the face, and they show this in some of Rebels.
I
They
was
showed
gonna
a
say
little
Rebels
bit more
is
in
the
Rebels,
only one that's really gotten a little
But-
more of that.
That's
of-
right.
and a lot in Lost Stars.
Lost
There's a
Stars,
lot
yeah.
of in the books too about how actually like how much of the Emperor the galaxy sees. The original trilogy really makes it look like he's kind of in the shadows the whole time, telling Vader what to do, but he is the Emperor, and everybody knows who he is.
Right.
Everybody knows he's the Emperor. Like, it's not just like, oh, there's this. They don't know his role.
You don't
as a
necessarily
Sith.
know that the Emperor is Darth Sidious.
Yeah, they
Right,
don't
right,
know
right,
that.
right.
They don't know his Force abilities and all that stuff. But they know who he is. He is a front. He's a face to. It's like knowing the president of the United States. Everybody
Right.
in the world knows the president,
Yep.
right? It's like everybody. So everybody knows this, and they get messages sent out. And they see messages from the Emperor, and they hear about kind of things that are going on, maybe even recruiting messages to enlist, and he goes to planets
They're all
actually
positive
to
about all
recruit.
they're doing to help and
Yeah,
everything they're doing to
exactly.
make the
And I
world a
think
better
that would be
place
cool
and
to
the
see in
galaxy.
actual
We're here for
live
you,
action.
enlist for the Empire, and
That's
find
right.
your purpose today. They start getting to that in Solo.
Yeah.
Of like
Yeah.
the enlist, and it looks
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a good cause.
That's
and
right.
The
Yeah.
propaganda stuff.
So I don't know if we'll actually get that and see the Emperor. I mean, I know he just came back for
Why not?
McDermott, or came
Totally
back
could.
for.
This is the time.
So there's no reason to write it off, but I just
If we're gonna deal with the politics at all, how could it not?
The Senate
Yeah.
chambers.
Feels like it needs to be.
It feels like they're really leaning into. I think it's a strong possibility
I think
we
it's,
get.
yeah, and I
Are we
think
gonna-
that would be really. That'd be if that happens. That'd be the thing I'm probably looking forward to the most. So like that
Do-
would be cool to see more of that politics now that because
For
we get a
sure.
lot of it in the prequels
Right.
before they make the turn before Order 66.
Yep.
It'd be cool to see some of that live action now
We-
after that has happened.
Absolutely. We don't know how far back this goes from Rogue One, do we?
Oh, I don't
Andor
know if
doesn't.
they've
He's not a
announced it.
kid.
We know there's
so,
2 seasons and we know it leads up to Rogue One, but I don't know.
So we are going to be in the throes of. We're going to be hearing about this Death Star being developed. That's going to be. That's the center of
like
the.
if there's rumors of stuff going on.
I mean, it's being built. It
Yeah,
would be
so I
being
don't.
built.
It'll be
Yeah,
interesting
I feel
to
like-
know.
or already because the time. I don't know what the time frame is, but
yeah, so
it's the focal point of the Empire. I mean, it's a massive construction.
yeah, I
It
wonder
has
how-
to be
yeah.
I mean, one thing
a
they
point
kind
of
of.
discussion.
It might have
Yeah.
been a mistake by George.
Yeah.
To try connect stuff so much, but they show at the end of Revenge of the Sith the Death Star is being constructed.
That's right.
So this thing
Well, they
takes.
show the plans.
They show
Yeah.
the.
well, they I believe it actually is the.
They show the hologram, and
He does hold it.
Dooku's
This
got
is
the
what we're going
hologram
to
of,
be.
That's
of
but that's
with
in
the- that's
that's
in
in
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones. In
Right.
Revenge of the Sith, I believe they actually show the actual Death Star, like the shell of it being built.
Being built. Okay.
Let me see.
man,
I
forgot
real
about
quick.
that.
This is why this is great live. Stall.
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 It's not mustard. It's ketchup, moron.
But no, I mean, I
So
think
when does Urso? What's the time frame then? We go from. What's the time frame from 3 to Rogue One? How much time?
3 to Rogue. I mean, that's
knew I wasn't
essentially
wrong.
right before
Right.
New Hope. So,
All
how
right.
long is it? 20?
Stop the stall.
20.
I don't know, something like that. Kid's gonna hit us with copyright now.
Is everybody listening?
True.
'Cause
Okay. We'll turn that off. So make sure we don't get copyright.
That's
but
okay.
what you are seeing, I can
What? Yeah,
describe.
just tell us what it is you're.
We have.
I've forgotten this.
Look. I'm gonna have to pass this.
Oh wait,
around.
the end.
The very
There's
end.
Oh yeah,
Tarkin.
because he shows them.
There's
Yeah, you're
Tarkin
right.
Vader and a
In
Death
the-
Star that's
in
already
the-
being built. That's out there, and this is 19 years. I mean, this is
Tarkin.
this is
and the Emperor.
Luke and Leia were
Vader.
just born. Which
This is wow. I forgot about this.
so this has been going now for a long time. So the reason I bring
is
that
this
up,
a little? Is this a little bit more in the future?
That would be okay.
I mean, they
don't know.
never say that. It
They don't
ends.
say
It
when.
ends with them
I don't say
delivering.
when that is.
It,
Yeah.
I mean, it ends with them delivering Luke and Leia to Tatooine. Is the last
Yeah.
scene. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
be around that same.
Death Star's
time.
getting built.
and that's fine. It
Yeah,
would
you're
take
right.
A long time to
I
be
mean, it
built.
should be. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that should be a little bit in the future because it would be very impressive by the Emperor if the same day that the Republic falls, that he goes, by the way, we just put this up in about 20 minutes.
Right.
The Death's-
Well, we
built
know.
the Death
We
Star.
also don't know exactly how long
how
the
long
time
this-
frame is between Leia giving
The-
birth,
yeah.
or I mean,
Well, we know
Padme
that-
giving birth and
To actually
and
get in
Padme
there.
It would,
getting
I think it'll
choked
be.
or whatever.
I don't think Rogue One's that doesn't step on Rogue One at all.
No,
Because
Rogue
Galen
One
Erso
is
is way removed. It
Right,
was
right,
something
right.
he worked on in the past.
And we already knew the plans were
long
already in discussion
before-
from Attack of the
Attack of
Clones
the
because they already
Clones.
show it.
so based on
So
based
what I
on,
mean is, we will. This is going to be a focal point of.
Yeah, it just
Andor.
becomes how much do they know?
It's got to be out there.
I guess it's
that's an interesting thing. Yes,
Yeah, I wonder how
do
much
they
do
know?
If it's
does
floating
the average
around,
person know?
They don't tell everybody.
Because
Yeah.
it's interesting, like a
Is
New
this out
Hope,
in the Outer Rim somewhere being built where nobody really knows
then
what's
they'll
going on?
float
like in a
in
New
there.
Hope, Obi-Wan doesn't know about it.
No.
That's to no moon, but he doesn't say like, well, that's
That's
actually-
the thing I've heard
that's
about
Tuesday,
called the
Tuesday,
Death
yeah.
Star.
Or does he know about it?
I mean, yeah, maybe he's playing coy.
Because
Maybe
Because
he
he
made
wants
it.
him. He can't have him turn away too soon because
He
he's got to
answered it
get
very-
them close enough to get the tractor beam has
Well-
to bring him in. Or
well, the
else Han would
reality
turn
is,
around.
the
Ooh,
reality
everyone's
is,
bad.
he doesn't know that it's. He doesn't know that the Death where the Death Star is.
Yeah,
But it's very likely when he sees it, he goes, "That's not a moon.
that's not a moon, and then
It's a space station." He's the one who says it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
That's
he says
not
it's too big
it.
to be a space station.
Yep.
So I think he knows that's where Vader is. That's where we're going. That's where I
Mhm.
have to
Yeah.
go. Could be totally. He was already
Yeah. The
interesting.
I don't think. I mean, I was excited when they announced. I was excited when they announced Andor, but I think it was like
Okay.
mild excitement.
Great.
Like, oh, interesting. Like maybe not where I would have gone first with one of
Man,
my
I'm-
decisions as far
No.
as where, as time goes
Yeah,
on,
I agree.
even before we got footage of it, I was getting more and more and more excited about it. Of thinking like, oh, what they could do in this time period and all this.
Right.
Then the trailer came out, and I think that's one of the best Star Wars trailers maybe I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Of just immediately them hitting the drums. It's like the whole city is under this feels like the rain and the dark cloud of the Empire is taking over. And like you're seeing these villages, you're seeing the everyday people have to decide, do we hide in fear and stay out of it like we're talking about, or do we join the cause and fight?
Mm-hmm.
And I love what they teed up in Rogue One, and this is obviously now going to go a little bit back further than that, is that rebellions are not clean. They Andor has had to do some horrible things in the name of the rebellion. He's had to get
Saw Gerrera.
Saw,
he crossed lines.
And Saw goes even further. But Cassian talks about he's been in the rebellion since he was a child, and there are things that he had to do in the name of the rebellion that stick with you.
The very beginning of Rogue One is shocking when he
he takes the guy out,
and then climbs out.
So you're like, this is not this.
It'll
this
be
is
okay.
This is why I'm so excited for the show. It feels like it's gonna deal in some of this moral gray area here of like what you do in the name of rebellion, what you do in the name of war. What does that mean? What justifies what? Like stuff that's really
it's also
rich
gonna
storytelling.
Be one of those. It's just gonna be one of those where we know the outcome, and it's just gonna tug at us because
we know how it ends.
As you get more and more attached to Andor, you know what
happens.
happens.
Like, oh, this is gonna make his outcomes that much worse because we know what happens.
Mhm.
But that's gonna make it that much better of a story. So
I have an interesting thought. We know it's secret. We know he's out there. Do the exploits of Obi-Wan Kenobi and the remnants of the Jedi, does that information make its way through the Rebellion network to spark them to know that there are others out there?
There is still
There's
hope
still hope. We're still fighting. We're still out here. We got to keep building.
Oh man!
Because
something
needs to keep them inspired.
It'll be interesting to hear what other people we see.
I'd not even thought about my boy Jimmy Smits.
It's all
Bale. We're talking.
going
This is
on
the
right
politics stuff of
Leia.
And Leia.
I mean, obviously,
Leia. But yeah, that would be interesting. How if they
Just
did
wonder
go
if
down that
I
route.
don't think Leia would necessarily be in it, but the reality is she's very, involved with the Empire and like putting on a front, going to Imperial events.
Right.
When things are going on, she's at these Academy events, at the Academy balls and things like this.
That's right.
Because she's part of the politics.
She's carrying
a
that
princess.
side of
the
it.
end of that
But
Obi-Wan
they
series.
question her.
Secretly.
There's rumors of like, I think she's actually with she's helping the rebellion, but
Well, there could be stories of this Inquisitor turned to the light side. There's hope.
yeah,
Things are turning
there could be
because all these things are
yeah.
happening out there.
There's so many things that are happening
be
in this
interesting.
time period that, it would be really interesting to see who else shows up. From just a political standpoint, Bale makes sense.
Yeah.
Is it possible we
Right.
see any characters from Rebels?
From Rebels live,
Or even just
like
hear about them, just because we know they're essentially part of the group that helped start it all.
So
True.
Saw Gerrera seems like
I mean,
Saw-
they
yeah.
helped start all
That
of it.
seems like a
basically.
reasonable
Saw
one.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting
Well,
is
yeah.
Bale. I guess Bale is now.
But I mean, even Hera, like they're part of the group that really helped start a lot.
So I'm
of it.
thinking Bale isn't part of the Imperial Senate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Imperial Senate, and there's going to be Senate.
Yeah,
I could
that's
totally
true.
see
Oh,
Bale,
the Senate, yeah,
Bale
Bale's
being
gotta be in
outspoken
Hey, the
because that's
political
not
stuff.
That's not rebellion. That's I
Mm.
mean, obviously he's
Yeah.
sympathetic and
We
loyal
go
to the
from
rebellion.
Kenobi
and-
to right here, and
I know.
Bale's in it too.
It's like
but it's
all of those
Man,
characters.
it really
any of
leads
those
up right
characters.
there.
Mhm.
Of I like that. I think what they teed up at the end of Obi-Wan, even though these are completely different shows run by different people, different creators. So I'm not necessarily saying like they teed this up so this can carry this, but the way they do connect, great. Of when Leia's like, I'm gonna want to change things.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, and then he's like, well, then we'll change things together. It's one of
That's
the
right.
best lines
Yeah.
where he's talking with her of like,
Here we go.
let's do it. Like I'm here with you. Like
yeah.
this is not like I think you should do this and you want to do this. Like I'm here with you. Let's start changing
Yeah.
things together. And it's that obviously that attitude that continues to get Leia
Yeah.
when we see her in A New Hope, where
She's gonna
she's
begin
all in on the
working-
rebellion, and then she'll deny it to Vader and Tarkin and all
Right.
this. And I'm a diplomatic. Imperial Senate on diplomatic mission to Alderaan. You report to the rebel alliance and a traitor. Take her
Yeah.
away. But
I got a
the
crazy
Mothma stuff,
Andor
the
prediction.
amount of Mon Mothma that we got in the trailer
Oh yeah.
makes me think we're not. You don't.
She's
get
part of the
Mon
marketing
Mothma without-
too. It's gonna be
You
great.
don't get Mon
Yeah.
Mothma without other politicians.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either, well, one, I think we're going to get introduced to some cool new politicians that we're going to be like,
yeah?
that's going to be a cool character.
Do you think we'll hear?
What is she proposing? I hope right when she's talking,
hilarious.
someone from the and then
She's like, "Would you just pipe down? You
Please.
had your moment. Now that's enough."
That's it.
Does
Someone finally gets him
we
out.
see the Senate?
Quiet. Why should I be quiet?
We see a shot of the Senate in the trailer.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, what's he doing?
E.T. Will they be in there?
E.T.
Will they be in here?
That's canon.
Yes.
Do
It
we
is.
see an Emperor Yoda rematch in the Senate?
Oh my
This
goodness!
guy is crazy.
The claw.
So wait, now
Goodness.
each of their shows is just classic battles having another
Rematch
battle.
of the century.
It's
Nothing to
Part
do with
two.
Andor.
Rematch of the millennia. It's just gonna be
man.
each one's bigger and
Nothing to do
better.
with Andor at
Please.
all.
No.
Yoda's throwing Senate pods.
Oh my gosh! It just act. It's,
Flashback. Yoda flashbacks all through this show.
oh, wait.
Yoda's
Yoda's throwing
Yoda in a
pods.
bacta tank.
Wait, no, Yoda's throwing the Senate pods, except this time it's filled with people. People are just dying left and right. He's taking out people.
ETs. Are we gonna see Jar Jar? He's part of the. Jar Jar is gonna be right next to the Emperor after
Man.
giving him orders, giving him direct
No,
power.
They probably
Yeah.
pushed him
Yeah,
out
it's-
real quick.
poor
Okay,
guy.
thanks for your vote. Now get
Thanks
out
for
of
your
the way.
vote. Go back
Thanks for
underwater.
ruining the world.
Thanks for the downfall of the.
Go
of the
back
free
underwater.
world. Yeah.
Emergency powers. Wait, what?
Just
Just Leia's like, excuse me. Okay, I changed my mind. You know.
Okay, this guy can't talk. Can we?
Excuse me, Boss Ness, is he still to be punished?
Boss Ness.
Be gone with you. I love it. You were banished because
Man. I
you
can't wait.
turned over supreme
Banished
power to
because
the
you're corrupt.
supreme power to the
Perfect.
supreme chancellor. Well, that seems.
We thought your
reasonable.
worst days were behind you.
Remember when your worst attribute was just being clumsy?
Man.
We'd kill for that now. We've given you actual power.
That's
to
why,
bring
yeah.
us
I
down.
just can't. I can't wait.
I can't
for-
wait.
And we're
This
gonna
is
see
gonna be great.
some. We're gonna see new characters. We're gonna hear. I just watched James Bond, No Time to Die. I hadn't seen it yet.
I still haven't seen
Nate
it.
ruined it,
So
but I'm
good.
not gonna tell you what he did.
I still haven't
ruined
seen
He
it.
did. That's okay.
What?
He didn't really
Please
ruin
don't
it.
ruin anything for me. I have
I'll
not
tell you
seen
about
it
it.
yet.
I'll tell you about
but
it.
I
He
wanna
didn't
see
ruin it. I already kind of knew. But you could. It could have been. Could have
Do
been.
not tell me.
It's
but
great.
I do wanna, I
It's
really
really,
want to see
really
it.
good.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the
Daniel.
Daniel Craig Bonds.
He
I think
didn't
they're
ruin
great.
it. Oh, it's great.
They're
Oh,
great.
he's so
movies.
Oh,
good.
it's so good.
So the whole spy thing and sneaking around and
This does feel like this is the most spy.
you know,
It's the biggest spy thriller,
Yeah.
like that type of espionage. Oh, I can't wait for that. Political
we've
spy
haven't had
thriller.
anything like that.
No,
Not
and
really.
and like this, it's a fun time period. Not fun for the galaxy, but not for the average person.
It's just a ball of laughs.
This is a ball.
For
The
the
Emperor-
rest of
the
Death
them.
Star
Emperor's
floating
loving it.
around.
The Emperor's doing his best Will Ferrell. The
Emperor.
Emperor's just playing with the little, doing the kiddie toy, but it's the Emperor's just force lightning.
Oh,
I'm
man.
in a meeting. A whole
Jedi are all hiding. It's just
I just love
fun times.
it. It's just a
Vader's at his
blast.
peak.
Andor having to do horrible atrocities in the name
Awesome.
of good. It's gonna be so
It's
fun.
a
In the name
laugh
of
a minute.
good.
You know what they're
This is a
missing?
comedy, right?
Star Wars comedies. They should be coming.
Mm.
I think that's what the
They're
Taika
gonna do a
Waititi movie is coming.
Sandler
Got
Star
that
Wars.
Lego Vacation thing coming out.
Whatever Taika's movie is going to be.
The soundtrack's by Weird Al.
Oh, it is. That's gonna
Yeah.
be awesome.
Long
That's,
saw
actually, that's
that.
actually happening.
Wait, what?
He's doing the
This is actually
soundtrack
happening.
for this Lego
summer
Lego
vaca-
Star
Lego
Wars
Star
summer
Wars,
vacation. It's some Disney Plus
Oh,
little thing that's
man.
coming out, and it said with original music by Weird Al,
Oh my goodness!
which is
If anybody said Disney's ruined
So
Star
good.
Wars already, now we might
that'd be it. Yeah.
we might be moving in a new direction.
What was
There was a thing going
wow.
around. It was like a Star Wars play thing that Mark Hamill was in. This was going around this past week.
Star Wars play?
Really?
It was like a thing. He was singing. He was singing, and he
What?
was Luke Skywalker. And
I've never seen
it
or
was
heard
a
that.
video that
No way.
resurfaced, and it was like someone shared it on Twitter and said at Mark Hamill said, Which would, if you could erase one from the internet or from existence, would you choose this and shared this video?
Oh,
Said this or
man.
the holiday special?
Holiday special.
And his response was, "Can I choose both?"
Hilarious.
So
I gotta
great.
find this now.
Anybody who says Disney ruined Star Wars has never seen the holiday special.
that is
We were this close to the end of the franchise. And it was like year 2.
that was it. Yeah.
And we all thought,
And luckily, nobody watched it.
It was
luckily, no.
George made sure.
I watched part of it. I couldn't get through the first 20 minutes of Wookiees
Wookiee with no
with no
subtitles.
subtitles
You have
and
no
lumpy. And
20 minutes later, you're like,
I don't even
What's
know
going
what
on?
this
It's
is.
Wookiee talk with no subtitles is the greatest
Wookiees.
directing decision
Lumpy's
I've ever.
balancing on the rail. It's like, what is
No,
happening?
it'll be great. With Art Carney, Cloris
So,
Leachman,
Yes. Get some really old timey celebrities who are
What?
just gonna randomly pop up
Soupy
and sing a song.
Sales as and Harvey Korman. That was
Yes, Harvey Korman. And with a random
Man.
original song by Carrie Fisher.
Jefferson
Doesn't-
Airplane. and Carrie Fisher sings the
Carrie
theme
Fisher
of
sings
Life
it.
Day.
Yeah.
Sings the theme of life.
Like
Day.
not staring
Wow.
at the camera, just singing.
Wow.
Like, well, this is a great.
Man.
This is it.
Not a plot hole.
Not a plot hole.
Troubling nonetheless.
But that's an example of you can critique. We can critique. Not the best.
If there's ever something, if people need
it is
proof,
it is a testament
if
to
people
how
need proof that we're bashing, that we will bash Star Wars at
Man.
times, we just
It-
point to the holiday special.
it is a testament to how good the movies are
Yeah,
that they survived that.
that is true.
Because if
That's
they
it,
weren't
yeah.
great,
That is true.
people have been like, I don't
Man.
know.
There are a lot of franchises who were on the right path and one
Gone off the
misstep,
rails for less.
one misstep,
Yeah.
killed it, and that was it. Like,
That's
oh,
right.
Dang, it was good, and
Had a
then
good run.
that ended it.
Yeah.
Star Wars said, "Yeah, that never happened."
See, here's
We're
the
just gonna
thing,
pretend
right?
That never happened.
That's another negative
That's
to
it.
the internet. I mean, a lot of good stuff comes from it too, but had the Star Wars special been released today,
Oh man.
it'd have been everywhere. It would have
Oh,
it could
man.
never he could just say, "We are never showing this ever again." And then for 20 years there's no internet, there's no YouTube.
Yeah.
You can't put it online. Then it pops back up later. Now it's kind of
Now
nostalgia.
it's a funny.
Now
thing
it's a
that-
joke.
Back then,
Now
if that had been the
Favreau's telling
second, that would have
them
been
it's
like
canon.
the second episode of Star Wars. Be like, what is this? This is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the next one.
I don't want to see a third. You wouldn't even connect that this is like separate from.
They were able
anything.
to
It would
just,
just be like this is right. Also, that intro when they're doing like it's a holiday special and they're going and like it's like introducing each of the characters and Han is
With-
like,
Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. This is-
and it's on
it's
the
the Full
most
House.
lumpy, the most limited budget with
Right.
like they're all rocking around in like a cardboard box the whole
Man,
time.
man.
Like, yeah, that.
I want
that
to watch
found
it right now.
We'll put it on. We'll do a watch party
Yes.
with live on YouTube.
Live
a holiday
react to
that
special.
would be great during the
That's it.
holidays.
Man.
Are we doing Star Wars Celebration, by the way? Maybe that's a discussion for another
If
time.
we can fundraise.
I would love. I feel like I'm celebrating Star Wars right now.
Right now, baby. It's already a celebration.
We can
Goal.
crowdfund. We can fundraise.
Well,
We can
well.
start fundraise.
We're going
Kickstart
to
us.
No, we've got. I think the tickets actually come on sale soon, which is crazy.
tomorrow.
What?
Tomorrow.
Oh, really? Did
Thir-
I
I
said
saw
soon, right?
I saw
30th
some people already booking their
I
hotels.
thought it said 30th
I saw
of
that.
June.
I saw that. Hotels are already getting booked.
Well, we round trip to London from here, $815.
That's actually
Wow.
not bad.
Not bad.
Crazy. First class was 8,000, so maybe.
Listen, Star Wars guys
That's
only
a
travel
difference.
in style.
Oh, in style. well. What have we
We're
had
gonna
here?
stop.
Well,
our
well,
our
well.
internet personality is just going to become that the only reason we've never gone to Star Wars Celebration is that we only go if we go
We
in
go in
style. Like,
style.
these guys
Well,
are
I would
trash.
never
These guys are so
bet.
bad.
Star Wars Celebration.
Well.
I already.
Yeah.
It's on my anniversary. It's
Yeah.
a day after my anniversary. So I was like,
Would that
we have to go.
London.
so that sounds like an anniversary gift?
It'll
Thank
be
you,
the
Aunt Rachel.
first time I
No.
could ever say I see London, I see France, I see Lando's underpants.
Which is the most
I see
common. That's the
Lando.
most common version of that.
That is.
Lando's underpants. And why will Billy D just be in
Whoa,
boxers again?
whoa, what have I here?
Whoa. We have ventured beyond the paywall.
That was perfect.
I see Lando's underpants. Oh my
It's
goodness.
not. You can't unsee
Oh,
that.
man.
By the way,
You can't. Like the holiday special,
trust me.
once you see it, it's there.
It
That's
is
It
burned
sticks with you.
onto your retinas.
Although the holiday special gave us Boba Fett.
Boba
I am
Fett
Boba Fett.
and the Mythosaur.
I am Boba Fett. Left for dead on the Sons of Tatooine. Yeah, that's great. I can't wait. Can't wait. It's going to
Can't
be
wait.
great.
Andor's coming.
excited.
Bad Batch right behind. Whew.
Man, some overlappage, too. I
Overlap.
think.
Yeah.
I saw they announced, not announced, but Taika Waititi is doing press for Thor: Love and Thunder,
Yep.
Yeah.
and
Hit some
he was
comments.
asked about his Star Wars, and he said is not going to start filming this year. He said because he kind of was
I'm still
pumping the
trying to
brakes
figure out
loose.
the
I'm still trying to
story.
figure out what the story is. And he's like, and I mean he's been busy to say the least. He
Yeah.
literally has a movie.
They also just
premiering.
announced too that he's gonna direct some of the Mando
Mandalorian, season 3.
at least one
Yeah.
episode.
Oh,
of
really?
Season 3. So
which
he's
is
back.
awesome. And Bryce
He's fully
is doing.
involved.
Bryce is, I think, Carl Weathers maybe is directing
Good one.
another episode. I know Bryce is directing at least
Oh,
one
that's
episode. Maybe
I
Dave
love
will
it.
throw a soak in there.
I do have another
Do an
title for
episode.
She has to
Taika's
be.
movie. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
What'd you say for Taika's movie?
Yeah. and
Another
it's
one.
in keeping with
So not Jar Jar
in
Rabbit.
keeping with Underpants.
Did you just
yeah.
spoil it?
This will be good, right?
just kidding.
Lando, Love and Thunder.
Lando, Love and
that
Thunder.
actually fits his character.
That fits
That
his
is
character.
great.
Well,
don't have a Lando movie.
Love and Thunder.
That's it. That's
Jar Jar Rabbit.
Lando
I think
with,
I shot down Jar Jar Rabbit. That's not going to happen.
Jar Jar Rabbit is a gold idea.
That is a gold idea.
That is.
He's just the Emperor pops in and he has visions of the Emperor as his best friend. and
It's basically just replace the emperor, replace Hitler
Emperor
with the
become-
emperor.
yeah,
and that's
Hitler.
it.
Replace the Emperor.
and they're in the
with
the,
Taika.
then the Empire youth.
That's what it's like. Yeah.
They're learning how to be good Imperial.
Taika's the emperor now.
the Emperor. Ooh.
Oh man, yeah, can't wait. It's gonna be
It's gonna
great.
be awesome.
It's gonna
I
be,
can't wait. We got
Late
Andor.
summer.
We loved Obi-Wan.
Loved Obi-Wan.
And now we're ready.
Sad it's
Andor's
over.
coming up.
Sad it's
Andor
over.
and
but-
Bad Batch gonna have some overlap.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
Can't wait.
And can't wait to see these shows. These animated shows with Star Wars have had a tendency to start small and then explode into this
That's
bigger
right.
thing.
Oh,
That's kind of
man.
what they do.
Exactly.
Bad
And
Batch is
Bad
already
Batch
heading
did not
that way.
start that small. We already had some
No.
Finnick and we
No.
had
We saw Kamino. That's
Uh,
about
Cat Bane in there.
Cad
and
Bane in there. This
Fennec. Yeah,
Finnick, yeah.
it was awesome.
This is exciting
Jamaica.
stuff.
yeah. I'm excited to get back to Bad
the
Batch.
fall
I'm
of
ready for that.
Camino. I mean,
Trailer
there's
looks so
much
good.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want more Omega story.
I love that the music in that was also like this 80s 80s 90s action
Oh, it was
movie
Yeah.
like Bad Batch.
Right.
Oh yeah,
It just
remember we
sounds
even did our
completely
reaction. Like,
vibe.
oh, this music's great.
Yeah.
Music's
Totally
awesome.
Yeah,
different
well,
vibe.
There you have it.
Coming.
Anything else before we wrap?
Thanks, Eli, for popping in.
Yes.
Yes.
Beginning of the,
We'll have to bring Eli
if, you
back.
did, not see the beginning of the cast, go back. There's a little guest cameo.
Yeah.
If
Guest
you didn't see
cameo
the middle of the
for the
cast,
quote.
oh sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was saying cameo for the quote.
The quote.
Cameo for the quote. If you didn't
Yeah.
see the middle of the cast, you'll see this great bit where we talk about mustard and ketchup, and you'll really want to see that. By the time by the time you've rewatched this whole thing, we might have already even put that clip specifically
yeah.
on there as a separate video too.
Ketchup, moron.
Ketchup. I don't like this mustard. That's ketchup, moron.
That's so great.
You got some merch going yet? It's coming.
We've
right?
got merch.
Whoa.
We've got merch. It's not officially launched.
It's
not officially launched.
Merch,
It's not
merch,
officially
merch,
launched. But best believe when it comes, we will, and we haven't talked about this, so I'm announcing it now.
All
We
right.
will
Whoa,
do
whoa,
some
whoa.
sort of giveaway.
Whoa,
We've got to
whoa,
give
whoa.
away something. So
Give some to me.
we've
I
got
want
some designs. We've got some designs. We're building the site.
I love what you've come up with on some of
If
those.
you guys got more ideas too for designs, things
some
you
good
want us to
stuff.
throw on shirts, let us know. We'll come up with some ideas. But got a couple to start with, and we'll maybe go from there. But probably soon. maybe a few tweaks, and then we're ready to get it launched. So
Man,
we'll have to figure out
Oh,
some
my
sort of way to
goodness.
do a giveaway or
Yeah.
something. But
that'd be
we'd
fun.
love to give away some shirts. And I think they're pretty cool.
Oh, they look cool.
I think they're cool. I think it's not something just any Star Wars guys
Right.
of the channel would like, but any Star Wars fan would like.
Yeah, my face on a shirt. I mean, why wouldn't you want to?
Well, there you go. That's
I
it.
want a shirt.
No,
Uncle's
with
face.
Uncle's
I'm not
face
on
just
the
says
shirt.
Uncle.
It just says
Promise.
Uncle.
No, it's Uncle in the robe, and it just says like, what do you say? It's 100 degrees in this thing. One of Uncle's one of his first
There's
guests.
no
I feel
way.
overdressed.
Overdressed.
That's gonna be the quote.
There's no way Obi-Wan enjoyed this.
There's no way Obi-Wan enjoyed this. That's beyond the paywall.
Not my Cappy.
That's that's what our cast is known for now. That's
Disrobed?
beyond
I
the
think
paywall.
not.
Oh my
man.
gosh!
Well-
not my Cappy.
No, they're-
no,
they're-
you didn't.
They're actually cool. They're cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
this
cool.
is
I
good
think you guys
stuff.
will like them.
They're
So
really cool.
we'll keep coming up with more. We'll keep coming up with more, but you'll see a couple we've got ready. So we're excited. You may see us have them on eventually on the cast too. But there's a little teaser, so make sure to stay tuned on socials. I've been tweeting stuff about some things. So on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram at Star Wars Guys Pod. We post a lot of stuff on there. We give heads up on when we'll be going live and all that stuff, so you guys can check us out on there. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend about us here at Star
yes.
Wars Guys. And may the Force be with you.
Remember, Luke, the Force will be with you always.
Not
Took
my
you long
Cappy.
enough, Obi-Wan.
I was always here,
I was beginning to think you would know. Going to show.
I was
You
always
just-
here.
We're not ready to see. Also, my daughter was kidnapped 5 times.